Fat, 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 fat. We're the Fat Peeps.
Hey, peeps.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Phat Peeps podcast, episode 24. We are the Phat Peeps. I am one of your hosts, Joey, and I am here with John, aka Tamarind John.
That's me.
PJ, aka Tech 3200.
I got coffee.
Oh wow. Oh,
And Garrick, aka Big Target.
Hola.
big boy target.
And today's format might be a little bit different. We're gonna try to go a little less heavy on the topics, and we're gonna try to focus a little bit more on impressions of things, and of course we're gonna go a little bit into the Microsoft showcase that happened over the course of the last week. But rather than dive into every single game, we're going to just talk about some specific ones that stand out to us.
The ones we give a shit about.
Oh, yeah.
Or the ones we want to give shit to.
That's smelly.
It's so stinky.
I don't get it.
Me neither. Don't worry about it.
I
Okay,
think he
but
means,
before
like,
we
the
do
ones
that-
wanna shit on.
Okay, sure. Anyway, before we do that, we always like to start the show with our icebreaker question of the week.
Oh, wow.
Today's icebreaker question is, what country would you live in if you had to move?
Well,
Oh,
I,
course
Wow,
we are
great question, Joey.
We are all located here in the United
The
States.
U.S. of A.
Allegedly.
So where would you move to
two things. Where
if
does
you
this
had to move
question come
somewhere
from?
else?
This is hard. This is hard.
It just appeared.
No, wasn't this
The
from your
wild
stream,
thing
John?
about- If it
Was it?
was, I don't remember.
Well, I wasn't
whose
there
question it
last
was.
night or
Oh,
whenever
you guys are
streamed this.
bad.
So
Whoopsies.
credit to whoever gave this. Comment in the comment section. Let us know if it was you. And
Spoiler alert, it was me. I just let you guys squirm.
Okay. Oh,
Okay, good.
Whew.
Wow,
That's
what
just
a
lifted
jerk,
a lot.
John.
Oh gosh.
The second thing is
Uh.
whenever you pause at the beginning, you're just like icebreaker question, and then I'm waiting for you to be like, this icebreaker question is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the refreshing taste that
Wow.
will never let you down.
Why not something like cool, like popsicles or
No,
icebreakers?
I would absolutely love it if we were sponsored by Coca-Cola.
I'd be all about it, man. I don't
We
drink
should-
soda, but
In
come
the
on, Coke.
meantime, we should just think of random, off the cuff.
We should just do, yeah, like,
sponsors
peak the
that
peep
no one
flakes
would
or
ever
something like that.
sponsor. Yeah. Or just make up
Oh, just do
brand
fake
names or
sponsors?
something.
Yeah,
yeah.
thanks,
Oh, dude,
Like
I'm all about
improv
fake
on the
sponsors.
spot.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Next
Okay.
time. Look
Yeah,
out for
no,
that, guys.
we're gonna
a
work
new
that
segment.
in. Watch out for that, guys.
Yeah.
Or Calsamu, the milk.
Calcium. The cow's moo. So moo.
Okay,
The
perfect.
tastiest milk out there.
It's like protein, milk with added protein to it.
Yes.
It's like protein powder milk.
Mm.
I mean, I guess that's muscle milk, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Essentially, and it's like your nails
No
grow at
way.
twice its normal speed, and your hair just becomes like.
Anyway,
Country we would like to live in.
country you would live in.
Joe, do you want to start out,
Sure.
or were you thinking?
Probably Canada.
Oh,
Wow.
Damn.
It's easy.
Yeah,
It's easy.
It's easy. Right, it's like they're
Okay.
very
Oh.
similar to us in a lot of ways. They
God damn
just
it.
speak the same language for the most part.
Straight
Unless
up
you're
drink.
in,
I am.
like over on the East Coast where they're like
Yeah.
French, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think that's the easiest, least, path of least resistance if you had to go live somewhere else.
Okay, damn it, you.
Japan would also be cool.
Oh, god damn it!
Oh.
Shut up, Joey. Just stop
Yeah.
talking.
Oh, wow.
Stop. I should have went first. Fuck. Like legit, I was just like Canada because everything be exactly the same. I'd
Don't
just say
take
a boot.
Joey's answer.
I would just say a boot instead, and then I was
People
like,
can have the same answer.
Wow, are you Canadian, PJ?
then
I
Plus,
didn't
we
know
know
that.
people
It's
in
probably
Canada.
part
We do.
Canadian. Are you part Canadian?
me? No, not even close.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
That'd be cool though.
Oh,
No, I have English in my blood, but that's the closest thing that I
Wow.
come to Canada.
England! Can you speak England?
Top of the morning
Top
to
of the
ya.
morning.
Wait.
We're gonna get shit on so fast.
Anyhow, so then
continue.
my secondary answer, actually, if I had to choose something that was different, would have been Japan, but then Joey
Don't
said
take
Japan.
Joey's answer, PJ.
Because I'd like to live in a place that's very technologically like involved, and I like all. I like
okay,
the
one thing.
culture.
Have you ever taken public transport?
That wouldn't bother me too much. Though.
Okay.
Would it?
Because it's
Like-
a big like. I know you've never like traveled outside of the U.S., right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
No.
But it is a big change of pace when you have to take like transit,
It's
and I
very
feel like
claustrophobic.
I mean, I don't want to like put words in your mouth,
Okay,
but I feel like it might be kind of hard on you.
I'm
as
not
somebody
a big
who,
fan of it, but I don't mind it.
yeah,
Just
as
suck it
somebody
in.
who lived in a big city
yeah,
where I had to take public transit fairly often,
yeah.
it's not the most pleasant thing.
No,
hmm
I mean I've
like-
had to
But-
do it before. It's
But
just
that's the thing.
Okay,
Especially,
it's
That's
okay.
one of
So
the-
Joey, multiply that
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
uncomfortableness
Yeah.
by
Right.
10 because
Because
you're
like in
you're penis to
Japan,
penis.
okay.
right? That's the thing. Is like yeah,
You are
like,
grinding people.
during like rush hour,
Hot.
the train cars
Yeah.
on BART get pretty packed, right? Like
Mhm,
they're like
yeah.
person to person,
Yeah.
but they're not like packed in like sardines person
Yeah.
to person.
Like
In
Bart's
Japan, they straight up have like people who
pushing you in.
push
uh-huh.
the people in to pack them in
That's
tighter.
They're
Yeah.
hired for that.
and
They have like
Garrick
giant
and I
gloves on.
yeah, no, Garrick and I we had because we went to Japan and we know exactly what it's like
oh,
to be
yeah.
packed starting. Like it's different because Bart is scary just because you have crazy drug fueled homeless
BART's
people
not
on
that
it.
scary. People
Uh,
talk a lot about how scary
That's I
BART
don't know.
is.
My experience in Bart was like 3 or 4
Joey, you're
times.
kind of
It was pretty scary.
You're kind of hardened
Um,
because you live in the ghetto.
you're hardened.
So like
we live in the
But I
suburbs.
mean, like generally speaking, there's like
Mhm.
you'll get a crazy person or two.
Yeah.
But like I've only
Get that one guy.
like
It's like that's enough
that's
for
the
me.
thing. is Generally, they're harmless.
I'm cool.
Joey
I'll-
probably
yeah.
knows
Generally,
him
they're
by
like
name.
they keep to themselves.
yeah.
Right. Every
But-
once in a while, you'll get a crazy that is like antagonistic and will
Yeah.
like
Or
start shit
handsy.
with people on the train.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's someone's
But,
like that's very socially
Every time
awkward
I've
or-
seen that happen, I've seen somebody else on the train get up and put homeboy in check.
yeah.
Yeah, because you live
So-
in an area
and
where
then
that would
usually-
happen.
And then usually like BART police will get on at some point
I've
to
actually
like
never seen
remove the
Bart Police
person.
before. Again, mine's only very small.
I
amount
just
of
imagine
adventures on the
like
Bart.
the putting in check process. The guy's just like, blah, 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 blah. He's like, yo, homie, what the fuck's your problem?
I mean, you're like not too far off.
I'm probably like 85% of the way there. It's just
So-
a couple extra cuss words.
So imagine that in Japan, but
I mean,
none of
you're
none
more
of that
off about the
actually-
crazy person
Yeah. So
because
none
they're
of
not
that in
sitting there
Japan.
going bibbity boppity. They're sitting
Right.
there like saying things.
They're saying things like
Jesus
crazy
is
things.
coming.
It's scary. Yeah.
That's-
Or just cussing.
Not that
I think,
that's
yeah,
not
No,
that that's
it's usually, like,
crazy, but
cuss words
just
and
saying.
Yeah.
slurs at people.
Yeah, like
Oh.
with one time I went on BART that was like very scary. It wasn't scary, it was just kind of like I just not comfortable. This guy was in the corner, your typical San Fran or Bay Area, person with problems.
Yeah.
And he was just the whole time just like beep beep. Just I can't even say it on the
Oh, just
on
cussing.
the podcast because it's really offensive. And I was like just under his breath, just chanting it, and you're like, what is up with this guy?
He's tweaking
Very
hard.
uncomfortable. I don't have you can't really move because it's
See,
kind of packed.
I
so
get
you're
I get like
okay.
off put by that kind of stuff very easily.
Yeah, I'm like socially anxious, I guess. So it's like that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
It's
makes
just
me
like you're
really, like,
waiting
nervous.
for something bad
Yeah.
to happen. So
Yeah.
you're like, what are all the list of horrible things that could happen in this scenario? If
Yeah.
someone's acting slightly off. Like if there's a Karen sitting next to me that looks like
Zombies.
she's just slightly ticked off for some reason. That's
Yeah, I'm
It's
like,
like it's like a bomb sitting next to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
You're like,
It's like,
when's
oh,
it gonna go
shit,
off?
when is she gonna start complaining about something that has nothing
Yeah.
to do with the world?
Yeah. But going to the Japan side, none of that. At least my experience. I don't feel uncomfortable in crowded spaces. I don't feel claustrophobic, so it was kind of comforting because everyone's just
You're all
they
just
pretend-
nestling each
yeah,
other.
everyone pretends. At least in my case, everyone pretends you're not there.
His
You know,
hand's
it's-
not on my jump.
Everyone's
He's just
used
not
to it.
there.
Like
Yeah,
if you
so-
look things up on YouTube, there's videos of people just forcing themselves in by those service people, and the people that are already in there is like, oh, another day.
Yeah,
that
Exactly.
person's late.
And I didn't even have to hold on the rail or the handle
Because
just
you guys
you
are
were
so
packed in,
there.
and you were just
Oh,
like
yeah.
you're just like shifting around like
You're just
on
like
a soft
leaning
pillow,
on people.
Yeah, pretty much. It's like
yeah,
if
Were
you
they
find
at
that
least all
uncomfortable,
AC?
not all the trains have. Most of them do, but there was a
Yeah,
couple
but
trains we
it
wanted
was
didn't have AC.
Japan. It was
Yeah,
cool at
it was
that
cool. Yeah.
time. So
Well,
it's not like time
actually,
plan.
Going in the summer would be
actually,
probably horrible
they
though.
they do because it was winter when we went, right?
Oh.
They do have the AC, the heater on, and it wasn't even heater
yeah.
weather. I remember a couple times when we
that
went on the train, it was like,
sucks.
wow, the heater's blasting.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
well,
remember
for
that.
no
but
reason.
like Asian culture is all about like, oh,
Yeah,
if
they
you
like
get
the
cold, you'll
warmth.
get sick.
Yeah, yeah,
So
exactly.
it kind of makes sense.
Um,
I don't know. That would be the only thing that gets me because I
yeah.
get claustrophobic if I'm warm.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Cause like,
You'll get used to it.
you might get used to it, but that's the thing you have to keep in mind. If you ever move to Japan,
I would
Yeah.
instantly
planning on it.
become that
Well,
crazy person
and-
screaming obscenities in that situation.
and you might be like, oh, I'm gonna buy my own car. No one really has their own car.
It depends on where you live though, right?
Yeah.
So like if you live in Tokyo,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
or like any of the major cities,
The
like
major
yeah,
cities.
you're gonna have to take public transit and it's gonna be like a pain because there's tons of people taking public transit. But
Yeah.
like if you live farther
rural
away
areas or
in
something.
like some of the less populated cities,
Yeah.
it's not, you
Yeah.
know, like
And
it's
that's
not
gonna be
as
harder-
frantic like that.
Right, but that's gonna be harder for someone that doesn't speak the language or
Right.
the culture
So,
to like
yeah.
integrate to that society.
Yeah.
That group,
Because they're
community.
less touristy.
So
they
if
don't
you do
have,
move, you're
they're not,
probably
like,
gonna
set.
have to. Right, exactly. So
So
you're probably gonna have to move in the city.
That's where I make the second clause to that statement. Japan would be more of a temporary band-aid move for me. I don't know if I could ever want to live there. Canada would be more of a I could live there forever
But
type
you
situation.
can't do that because Joey's moving there. We can't live in the same.
So
country.
then that left me my third, and I'm glad I thought of a third one. It would actually be
I'll trade
Ireland,
Japan
so I could be with my.
you, PJ.
No, I'll put
With your
Ireland, so
people.
I can be with my people.
Ireland, you're not saying it right. Ireland.
But it will be
Ireland.
bad
Ireland.
just because of the fact that I'll be the only Irish person in Ireland that doesn't drink.
Well, then you just don't go outside, and they'll never know.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the thing. I don't plan on going outside in any of these places, so that's the only reason why Japan would probably be the best for me because it would be a change of scenery at my
Japan- yeah.
window. At
Well,
least.
also no, just get an apartment right next to a 7-Eleven, and you're set for life.
Oh yes, and,
You're
and
good.
then
Oh,
the
yeah.
7-Eleven attendant more than likely speaks English, so I'm set. I'm good.
Or you just point. You don't even have to talk to them.
Yeah,
You just
no,
give them the
but-
money and leave.
I feel like everyone that works in a retail setting in Japan knows English unless if you're dealing with an old generation. person.
I never really communicated with the
You just
cashier or anything.
pointed.
They
You
they
rude
they
ass
said price,
motherfucker.
Yeah. No, they just said price, and then they're like, I say, arigato gozaimasu, and then we just leave. It's like they give
Mhm.
you you don't hand them money, you put it on like a platter and you give it to them.
Oh.
Just like there's no like actual.
See, they're so
You don't
smart.
have to
It's like they've been so far ahead of the coronavirus that it's like, it's unreal. I know it's because they had other things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's still absolutely astounding to me that the stuff we're doing now is something they've been doing for almost a decade.
Yeah.
And we're just like, oh man, this is such a hard change of life. Anyhow, this is going down a different road
jeez.
than we're supposed to. You guys go ahead.
Garrett, would you like to? Go ahead. What?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say Canada as well.
People can say the same answer.
I thought,
No, it's not allowed.
No.
We're separating our ways.
I had
We're going our
I had
own
a
ways.
back.
Okay.
I had a backup.
Yeah,
but
you always
I
gotta
just
think
want
about
to say
backup.
I would settle in Vancouver because
Dude,
it
yep.
looks like if you
If I were to
okay
move
if
to
you compare
Canada, yeah.
Seattle to Vancouver, Vancouver is just miles ahead as far as beauty goes.
Yeah.
Like they have mountains. Seattle's just flat,
Mm-hmm.
but they're both green.
Well, no, Seattle has mountains, but yeah.
Not enough. Not enough. That's not enough. But so yeah, that would be my number one. My second one would probably be Australia.
Oh,
I wouldn't mind living there. I've seen like there's so many great places to settle as well. And like if you go further south, you could probably live in cooler weather too. Because I do prefer cooler weather. So not all of Australia is warm per se. So yeah. That's my answer. How about you, John?
Oh wow! Okay. So the safest thing I would do is Taiwan because I have family there. I know the little bit of the
Wow.
language.
Wow.
But if I were to like kind of go anywhere, like just I'd probably do New Zealand.
Oh,
big
we're
old Kiwi.
neighbors.
Yeah.
See, I was
that
thinking
sounds good.
Australia too, and I'd be all down for it because I'd fit right into the culture with the excessive cussing. But then I think about the bugs, and I'm like, oh, hell no.
Yeah, they got crazy
They got
bugs and
crazy
crazy
bugs.
Yeah, just
insects and
live
stuff
in
and
the city.
spiders. And
This
Yeah, just-
doesn't change the fact that they're still on the continent with me.
Just carry
Continent.
around.
Do you know
some
what?
rain.
So,
Hawaii
would you like to know
was.
what dangerous animals are in the continent of the U.S. of A?
Oh, there's a bunch,
Go
but
on.
I'm talking
That's not a
about.
continent.
I'm
Go ahead.
talking about like California is not too bad in comparison to other states. Like going to Texas, I was like,
Oh, yeah.
holy shit, that's not a mosquito. That is a fucking flying truck. But like,
Well, hey PJ, Japan also has giant spiders. Remember, John took a cool picture of that
No,
giant
those are the size of
spider.
the hand. Those are the
Yeah, it was pretty
gold
cool.
orb or something, whatever spider. I
It was
forgot
just
what
minding
called.
its own business.
orb
in
weaver
the land.
spiders.
Or yeah, or reavers. That's it. Yeah, it was like a golden orb reaver.
So
It's like the
honestly,
size of your hand.
I
My
don't
hand.
think you can like maybe Australia might be the capital of very large scary things, but every country has its own.
yeah,
little
it does.
surprise.
I think
Big
so.
ol'
So if
surprise.
I could
Bundle surprise.
change instead of country and just say area, I would say Hawaii would probably be one of my first choices because
Hawaii.
they straight up have very little bugs and they have no snakes, and I'm like all on board for that.
But that's still in the country.
I know that's what I'm
of
saying. If
the
I could
US of
just
A.
pick a different area to live in general,
Oh, so in a bubble.
yes,
in
in a bubble. But
Just Antarctica, there's no bugs.
oh,
there.
there's only
no
polar
bugs to worry
bears.
about.
Just
No,
ancient,
that's North Pole.
just
Polar's North Pole.
just
You have to
ancient
worry about penguins.
diseases
Oh,
that
God,
will
not
soon be
penguins.
unearthed.
I mean, in Alaska, I feel like most diseases would just die in Alaska. Oh, actually,
There's nothing in Alaska.
how many COVID cases are there over in like the poles in Alaska and stuff like that?
I don't know. No one does the news for Alaska.
I
Yeah,
feel
no.
like there's either none or it's like one person just like in their house right now.
Well, no one really goes there, and everyone's just
The people that live there are kind of desolate,
Yeah, their neighbors
Yeah.
are mooses.
yeah, pretty much.
or they like their neighbors live about 13 miles away, and it's just like, well,
Or say aeroplan.
yeah.
Oh, remember those
Uh,
good times? Those simpler
Actually,
times?
you know what? We're
Total
gonna look this
confirmation,
up.
It's about 3,000 total confirmed cases.
In
Oh, wow.
Alaska,
Mm-hmm.
That's it?
that's
Yeah,
a lot
I mean,
for
it-
Alaska. Think of the population. It's like 3,001. They almost have 100%.
Wow.
Wait, what? That's not the population of Alaska. What are you talking about?
I'm being stupid,
What are you
but
talking
it's
about?
still like ridiculously low for 3,000
Yeah.
cases.
Well, it's like it's very rural.
Oh, like this.
Rural.
So it's like, yeah, there's a bunch of open land, but then there's that one epicenter where everyone is.
Yeah, I mean Anchorage. Like
Wow.
my uncle lives in Anchorage, and it's like it doesn't feel like a city. It just feels like a dinky town. So
Yeah.
Guys,
it's-
why are we talking about Alaska? That's not a different country.
yeah. Why are we talking about Alaska?
I brought up Hawaii, but I was just
I don't
making
know.
it.
That's
Why'd
not
you
a
bring
different
up
country either.
Hawaii?
That's not a different country. What'd you talk about? I want to
Anyway,
go to. Okay,
go on.
I already said where I wanted.
Well,
to go,
we
so.
Yeah, let's run
essentially
through
said
this. Who's-
two.
is
PJ
there
said
anybody left?
3.
No,
That was it.
I think that was it.
No,
Did you have a
really?
second choice, John?
Everybody answered?
Joey said Canada. PJ said Japan.
Exactly.
Garrick said Australia. I said New Zealand. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect. You don't have a backup
Alright.
just in case like something happens.
Oh, New Zealand? No, New Zealand's super safe. They know
Okay,
they have
perfect.
no confirmed COVID cases now because they're
Wow.
really good at that.
Well
So,
done.
Damn, that's the
Good
only
people
reason why
of
you
New
want to
Zealand.
live
Good for
there.
It's
yeah, 'cause
safe.
it's safe and people are smart. Listen.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
They trust.
Yeah.
They're all about society
Uh-huh.
succeeding, society successful.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Well,
Also, The
that
Hobbit.
was a
That's what I'm
good.
talking
Oh yeah, that's fun. You can go to like
Yeah,
the set of
yeah,
the Hobbit, the
exactly.
Shire or whatever.
The Shire.
Just live there.
Fun. Well, that was a fun icebreaker topic, and now we're gonna move into some game impressions.
Impressions of
Wow.
games.
Okay, so Garrick has been playing a little bit of Ghost of Tsushima.
Wow.
Tell us a little bit about it.
It's so good, guys. If you don't know, the whole premise of Ghost of Tsushima is the journey of Jin redeeming or exacting revenge for the Mongols
Oh.
occupying Hapon. That means
Nippon.
Japan or Nippon. Um, so I want to talk about the world really quick. Like
The
we're gonna
island
be
itself of Tsushima, or
yes,
just
The
which is
island of
real.
Tsushima. It
That's a
is
real
real.
place.
It's loosely based on history, I would say.
Just like
But
Assassin's Creed.
we're gonna be talking a lot about open world
Uh-huh.
conversations soon.
Oh yeah.
So we're going to be comparing Ghost of Tsushima, my experiences with it, with what we're going to be talking about. But I want to comment on the world that they made and how immersive it is. It feels alive and beautiful. So if you see gameplay of it, everything's moving, trees are flowing. It's guys, Japan is really
Children
windy.
are singing.
I don't even know.
So
Um,
windy. The windiest.
yeah, but
Whoosh.
but the biggest thing about the open world uh, system that they have is they emphasize discovery being a natural occurrence. So you have a map, obviously. You can place a pinpoint there,
Obviously.
ride your horse there, but
Yes.
like every single place you look, there's a curiosity that you want to check out.
What's that? What's
There's
that?
like smoke stacks somewhere,
Oh,
or there's a random bird chirping at you, telling you to follow, and then you run
Wait,
into a
what?
fox, and
Wait,
like
what
all
does
these
the
animals,
fox say?
and then a bear attacks you. Like I
wait,
don't
wait.
know.
Do the birds like speak English or
No,
Japanese
they
or
just to hoot at
oh
you,
to who Ted Utes? Oh, it's
and
like a tweet. It's like "Toot hoot,"
yeah,
and then you
yeah.
follow it. Okay,
Basically, so
interesting.
basically, yeah, the foxes say something we don't know yet. Um, and then
Does that sound like a
like they lead
impression?
us to cool things in a natural
Right,
way. It feels organic and it doesn't really take you away from it. But I
right.
like how like you're trying to get to somewhere, but it's not intrusive as to like saying maybe you want to check this out because it's only a benefit to you.
Hmm.
Um, so because it's occupied by the Mongols, there's very limited chance for you to run into like actual Japanese villagers or anything.
Uh-huh.
But you don't feel alone per se because um,
The animals.
because it's just yeah the animals, the world is
Talk to
alive,
me.
and
So your character is pretty much like a Disney princess, but in
I guess
samurai
so. Yeah,
form.
yeah. He's one with the world.
Your character's
Let's.
a
I want to talk.
Disney princess.
Yeah,
I'm a
Disney
Disney
princess
princess.
talk to
I
animals.
come to destroy
Um,
you. Then
so
he
I want to talk
sings.
about the play style that they established because
Yes, 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 yes. Because
so
it's the
there's essentially
ninja
two
samurai.
yeah two play styles. Technically three. You could be an archer, but the
Oh,
main
oh,
one is samurai, which is combat based sword fighting, and a
ghost,
ronin, which is stealth
Rona,
fighting.
ghost, ghost.
They made it really they made it so you can play it how you want it. So you could be straight up standing off where that's where you just say, "Hey, let's fight really quick," and you can kill a bunch of people, or you can just run in and just stab people in the back like Assassin's Creed style.
Oh,
So
awkward.
um, but the cool thing about it is that it feels so organic where you can stand off with those players with those enemies really quick, and then there's a thing called like a smoke bomb where you can throw it down and assassinate more people. So you can combine both play styles and make it your own. Um, so I like how organic it is, and it uses a thing called stances. So the stances counter certain types of enemies, like shielded enemies, speared enemies, hulking enemies, and stuff like that. It that really makes combat really unique. Another unique thing is the armor set. You have to find those by doing missions or looking all over the world. The only complaint about it is stances you can change on the fly. You can change weapons on the fly, but armor sets. I understand that it's not realistic, but I think maybe it might be a good idea to implement quick changing armor. Like it won't be realistic at all, but most people so at least some people play at the point where oh okay I'm out of stealth now. Let me hide behind here and just change into my samurai armor or something. So it's very situational. Everybody ends up just being lazy and using the traveler's attire because they're already in it, and who cares about the benefits. So that's my only complaint. But yeah. Um, so, really quick, going back to Assassin's Creed versus Ghost, the assassinations are pretty satisfying because you're using a samurai sword. You can jump from really high as well and just aerial samurai sword people, which is great. Um, but and then also the combat. So I played Odyssey as well.
Oh,
The
nice.
combat is very like counter based, so you have to wait till they attack for the most part. This Ghost offers a little more um, balance in the way of let's fight. I can be offensive, but it benefits me to be defensive too and wait for a parry. But I can break and stagger them as well. So that makes things really fun and dynamic as opposed to just, oh, let me just stand here and wait till you make your move, essentially. And a couple more things. There's no gear score, which is great. You have set weapons that you upgrade over time and that you unlock.
Oh, that's
And the
wonderful.
enemies aren't meal
So you
shields.
choose the
So
weapons that you want to use. That reminds me of Ninja Gaiden 2. It's like if you
yeah,
liked a weapon, there was no disadvantage to using it other than like I mean, obviously there was more weapons that were balanced better in some ways.
yeah,
Like the axe was better for groups of enemies, and then I think the katana was just one of the fastest weapons in the game. But you upgraded those weapons, and you could continue to use them. There obviously were like ones that were completely
yeah.
underpowered, but that's a really I like that element better than trying to find like 10 different swords, and it's like you get one
Like the
every time you
same
level
sword,
up.
but just the
Exactly.
level
Yeah,
was
that's
different.
that's why gear
I
score is
hate
a
that.
no
I
no,
hate
and,
that.
and I'm glad they didn't go that way.
Yeah,
Um,
Assassin's
so
Creed
obviously they
poo-poo on that.
prioritize your heirloom samurai set, which is your samurai sword set. But you can really like lean into strictly just being an assassin or also being an archer. There's like ways to go approach each situation uh, in different ways. And the kills are satisfying. So I don't know if you guys watched any deaths that some gameplay of deaths. They're very unique based on how Jin actually cuts them up or shoots them or something. They react in a more visceral way instead of them just flopping over. You kind of
It,
feel it
it's not
like
as
you actually
ragdolly.
did something. Yeah, exactly. Um,
Yeah,
there's
like
a there's
Assassin's Creed
yeah,
Odyssey. It's just like
right.
when the health gets to zero, it just flop. Ragdoll, take over.
Yeah, and that's so
I
annoying.
feel like that's just an
There's
easier thing to program.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they thought about it. They want you to essentially respect battle. Like like when you play this game, you'll learn that
First
Jin is
active
an
respect.
honorable man, and like people will always challenge him and say, "Why didn't you get revenge? I want to kill this person." Uh, and I'm glad he died. And then Jin will always counter and say, "No, that's not an honorable way to think. You have to respect them and honor them, and like you can bow to people and stuff like that." But overall, like Jin's a great character. He can be a bit boring at times, just because he's just very
Oh.
stoic. I guess you
Yeah,
can't really get away from that without leaving that like emotionless vibe that samurais exude.
yeah,
But
it's a tough
overall, he's a good
character
character.
to like follow up with. Any honorable character usually gets a little
Yeah.
dull at points, but I've always admired like story writers that use those characters because it's a brave
Mhm.
way to go, and if you do it right, they can be a very cool character. So
Yeah.
it sounds like from what you're
Exactly.
saying, they did a good job with that.
Yeah, I'm into it. I'm always excited to play it. It's not that it's not repetitive at all with compared to like other open worlds that we'll probably talk about soon.
Assassin's Creed.
So
I was
yeah.
gonna ask, like, yeah, what kind of activities are you doing? Like, what are the kind of just like open world stuff you do, and like
Um
how often do you have to engage with that stuff?
so you have
And
options.
it's
So
and is it worth engaging with?
I say it's worth engaging with as often as you want. So I think you're kind of talking about like the groups of Mongols that I might run
Well,
into.
not only that, but like, a lot of games will have like,
Oh.
well, they'll have like kind of the bigger, you know, open world side stuff like
Mhm.
outposts that you get in like,
Oh yeah,
Far Cry and stuff like that.
yeah.
Assassin's Creed.
But
So
then a lot of games will also have like smaller activities like, radio towers that you need to hack, or like
yeah.
trucks that you can like commandeer and then deliver to like rebels or something like that.
So so there are outposts. So think of the game is broken into three acts. Each island is an act. Um, and there are fixed outposts slash forts that you have to kind of
Wait,
like liberate. Um, but
Tsushima's.
other than that, it doesn't feel like like out of place where this objective shouldn't have been here. There's no side things that really make things annoying, other than um, like finding like upgrades to your kit itself. There's like things that charms or something. You chop bamboo stalks and stuff like that. But it's your choice to improve yourself. It only like the stocks improve your health if you do that mini game and stuff. And then like I was talking about the animals like the birds and the foxes kind of lead you that way in a more natural way. You can totally ignore it per se, but I feel like you might be at a disadvantage. It doesn't feel grindy at all. Um, and that's one reason why I don't mind how they pull me away from my initial goal of doing something. I feel I like how organic it is per se. Did I answer that question
Okay.
correctly?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like other than like outposts, and you mentioned like foxes, like and
Hmm.
like other animals, like what exactly are you doing when you follow them? Like, what are you following them to?
So they give you foxes lead you to a shrine for foxes again. And that
What?
that allows you. They're very narcissistic. Come
Jeez.
here and
Hey,
bow
check this
and
out. This
honor
is
me.
Shrine of
I mean, it
Uh,
makes sense. It's Japanese
but
culture. It makes me laugh. Just like I imagine,
yeah.
and then you like
Oh,
follow it.
speaking of,
Wait, that's not
you
what
can't.
fox sounds are.
You're
Yeah, I was
not
gonna say.
allowed.
That's like a pigeon.
It could be
But it's a
whatever I
fox.
want it to be, because we never
Okay.
figured out what the fox
Um,
Yeah.
actually says.
Cool, cool.
Foxes like they allow you to slowly unlock more charm slots, and those are just like buffs or upgrades to your sword that benefit you depending on how you want to play your character as. And then birds kind of like cover the rest of it. They bring you to shrines and stuff, where you can get more benefits and stuff, or they can bring you to a bamboo stock challenge or something like that, or even springs that give you health. So it's like it's not like, oh, this thing's blinking on your map. The world is going to show you where to go, and it
Right.
feels
But
organic. I like it.
like what I'm getting at is they're not like they're leading you to upgrades and not
Mhm.
necessarily activities.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
there's no like
yeah.
old lady who needs 10
Oh no,
cabbages
no,
found.
no. Oh, so okay, so
Yeah, like
those
what kind of side
activities.
activities are there?
So those
Well, you mentioned the
activities.
like bamboo stock challenge,
Yeah,
which
those
you
are
do
just
for like the
yeah.
health upgrade or whatever.
Those are just unlocks and upgrades. Nothing really exciting, but
So there's no like.
you have to go into like the survivor camps and talk to people and gather information. So whenever you visit to upgrade your stuff, if there's usually one or two people there that are talking to you, and also if you liberate a villager that's been trapped by Mongols on the road, they'll usually give you a side mission as well.
Ah, nice. That's what
So.
I'm looking for.
And are these side missions like randomly generated, or are they curated side missions?
They're probably like I don't they're probably randomly generated per se, depending on the area you're at. Because obviously it won't give you a mission that's like you're in the south of the island and then it gives tells you to go all the way north. It's usually around the
Assassin's
same
Creed.
area.
Yeah. Well,
Wait,
yeah.
Assassin's Creed.
Like
Oh,
people
wow.
have mixed feelings about those types of systems where it's like a lot of people are like, what's the point of these quests? Like people have a problem with them
Yeah.
in the Bethesda games, right? Like Skyrim and Fallout, where
Yeah.
they're like, I'm constantly getting these quests that are just like, go here and kill people and clear out place, or go here and rescue hostages or whatever.
Assassin's Creed.
And like
Yeah.
and it's like I think that those types of quests create a real issue for players who feel the need to like how do you put it, complete
Completed it,
everything,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
right? Whereas
Completionist.
for other players, like I fall into this boat where it's like a lot of the time I like just playing the game,
Yeah.
and I want quests that are just randomly generated so that I constantly have stuff to do.
Yeah. So far, I don't get that vibe where it's like I'm going through the motions yet. Because
Right.
I'm that's why I get tired of open world games where it just feels repetitive. But um, I haven't really like I've been collecting side missions. They're all over the map right now. I've been focusing on upgrading myself and opening up the map and doing forts, because if you liberate forts in occupied areas, it'll reveal that section of the island, so you don't everything's revealed and nothing's like hidden or something like that.
So it's kind of like the equivalent of like taking a tower in a
Exactly,
Assassin's
but the
Creed or
whole
like a Far
island.
Cry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, but like I guess it's such a new concept to me, and I feel like it feels right where to the point where I'm not like going through the motions. So yeah, I like it.
Nice.
All right. Well, Garrick likes it.
Wow,
Yes, I
he's
do.
what the like for him.
Jumping to a different open world game.
Oh wow.
Also a game that starts with
Wow.
Ghost.
Oh, what?
Well, I guess it doesn't. I guess
Oh.
it technically starts with Tom, because
Tom.
it's Tom Clancy, Ghost Recon Breakpoint.
Wait. I gotta just tell the script really quick. Impressions of Garrick of Ghost of Tsushima, and then for the next one, impressions of Joey and Garrick of Break of Point.
Break of point.
That fucking
I
hurt.
do. I do it. You would mention that.
I had to. Anyhow, go ahead.
So, yeah, I've been playing a little bit of Ghost Recon Breakpoint. It came out like a while ago, not quite a year ago, I don't think, but like a pretty significant amount of time ago. And it came out to very negative impressions. People were not into it at all. It came out and it was quite buggy, which is already like, you know, bad in the first place. But then they made a lot of design decisions in terms of like adding gear score to the game, to like what is supposed to be a tactical military shooter.
Wait,
Let's
so
add loot and gear score to
what?
it.
So you have like an AK or something that
Level
like,
37.
AK is better than another.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, a gear score
Uh-huh.
110 AK
I think I asked this
74U
before.
that
Is Tom Clancy still alive?
20%
No,
bonus
he's
dead.
accuracy.
Yeah, he's
and-
rolling his grave.
Oh yeah, he's rolling his grave. He's rolling his grave hard.
What did you do?
But no, they recently, I think back in like spring, implemented a update that was kind of like an immersion mode update. So it gave the player a lot of like options to make the game more immersive. So you could like turn off the gear score completely. You can modify how much damage your character takes and like how easily they get injured, and how often you need to take the like survival, like eat and drink and stuff like that. How many guns you can carry, right? So like by default you carry 2 guns in the original game, and everybody was like, oh, nobody would run around with 2 primary weapons, it's so silly. So now they give you the option to only run 1 primary if you want.
Okay.
Anyway,
What?
Okay.
yeah,
That's
right.
dumb.
It's like little things,
stop
but
bitching.
it's like
Yeah.
kind of important things, right?
But you
And
get,
the funny
like-
thing is, is it's something that they had done already in Wildlands.
Mhm.
It's like one of those things where it's like there's
Wildlands? What?
so the other Ghost Recon, the
Oh.
previous this is a sequel to Wildlands,
Oh,
like basically a
okay.
direct sequel to Wildlands.
Oh.
Yeah. And in Wildlands, they had implemented the like ghost mode or whatever that you could play in that had a lot of these things. It also like permadeath, and people didn't like playing it because the game's so buggy that sometimes the game would kill you from like a bug, and you would lose your character because the game, and like that's no fun. So people don't really play in that
Giant
mode.
Mosquito?
No, like you land your helicopter and then you get out and you fall through the world and die.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Those are the fun
That sounds
ones.
like some Fable 3 shit.
Oh yeah.
And like to be honest, I haven't had any like bugs like that in Breakpoint, but I've had some like weird traversal bugs, right? Sometimes your character doesn't prone correctly on the ground. Sometimes your character can't run upstairs correctly for some reason. It's like it's just interacting. Yeah, it's just interacting with the stairs weird, or like I don't know exactly what was happening in that situation because I tried to run back up the stairs later and it was no problem. So I don't understand. But anyway, it's kind of buggy, but I still enjoy the like open world military kind of like operator aspects of it. And then originally the game was single player only with no AI companions, right? And this was like a huge like problem because everybody is like, what are you doing? The game is supposed to be about like a squad of ghosts and
right. Was the previous Woodlands, whatever, Wildlands?
Yeah, Wildlands you had a squad, right?
What?
And, like,
so they took it out?
the first thing they did in this game is like kill off. Well, they didn't kill off the squad, but like you get separated from your squad, and part of the story is like finding out what happened to your squad.
Gears of War splitting
story
type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so the story
That's
makes kind of
frustrating.
sense.
I
no,
gotta
story-wise,
mention,
it makes a lot of sense. But like from like a design aspect of like the type of game you're making, it's like it just felt like they were designing it not for. It feels too much like they were trying to make it like The Division.
Who in the hell thought it was a good idea to take Scooby-Doo's like flawed plot line and put it into games?
Hey, Scooby-Doo does not have plot lines.
Let's split up, guys. It's just like
wait, I don't know. No, they didn't like intentionally split up. Their helicopter gets like hit.
well, okay, I guess
they crash and get
more
separated.
specifically, I say like Gears of War, I guess, because they split into groups constantly in Gears of War. I know a lot.
Yeah, that's just so they can. That's like a gameplay thing, so they can have like
Yeah, but
different
it doesn't
sequences
add
co-op.
to
No,
anything.
PJ, because they're badass.
But it
Okay.
doesn't add to anything.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, that's beside the point.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't.
Joey, I wanted to
so-
mention though about
ahead.
the AI. It's same thing with Wildlands. I just hate how like sometimes the enemies just walk past your
Oh yeah.
your friendly
Yeah.
AI. Like that's not realistic. Let them get caught. Like they need to
Yeah.
learn.
Well, but I mean that would be incredibly frustrating, right? Because
Yeah.
like the AI isn't designed in a way where it's smart enough to like it can't read your intentions, right? It doesn't
Yeah.
know where you're looking or where you intend to
Just
go.
stay
So it doesn't
farther
know when
back.
to put itself in cover or
Wait,
just make it so they don't get seen.
I've only played
The easy way.
the very like the original kind of first person Ghost Recon. I remember it being very like strategy. You can tell your units where to go. So
No,
this is
it's
none
Yeah.
of your
very
AI
limited.
members.
You can tell them where to go as a group, but you can't
That's-
individually tell like the
you
individual
can't-
soldiers where to go.
You
That's
can't
big dumb.
do. You can't even do waypoints or tell them to
That's
flank or
even more
something
big dumb.
individually, or
But-
throw a grenade or something.
'Cause
Well,
Tom
you can't put
Clancy-
waypoints.
I mean,
You can like
okay.
put a waypoint down and tell the entire group to like move to this waypoint so that you can like pincer a group of enemies. You can do that.
Wait,
but
like
it's-
multiple waypoints?
No, not multiple waypoints. So that's the thing is you put
Oh.
one waypoint and the
Okay.
entire group goes.
So
to
you're
that
all
yeah,
by
waypoint.
yourself.
Just one.
Yeah.
Go
Okay.
here,
That's stupid.
and I'll do the
but-
rest.
Yeah.
I kind of understand because it's like and it's one of those things where it's like if the game was just a PC game, they would have been able to get away with having
Damn
those
you,
options, right?
consoles.
But because
Yeah.
it's like refined to a controller, they don't have, or I should say, like they probably could, but it would be a bunch of like menuing in the middle of gameplay. And when you're trying to make like a fast-paced action game, it's to have a bunch of
Yeah.
like D-pad menuing in like it's a lot. They
Yeah, but
definitely
the
could have done it.
The OG Ghost Recon players would have appreciated because it's
Yeah.
tactics.
No,
first.
and I agree.
Yeah.
Like I think that they should have done it, and I think it would have because like
Give
if
us the
you're,
option.
it's a thing where it's like when you're in stealth, you have time to do that menuing,
Mhm.
right? You have time to like
Wait, so the Ghost
bring
Recon
up an
games, they're
Oh,
not
go ahead.
stealth games anymore?
No, they are.
Essentially, all you
Okay.
you go to a point of interest, usually a base or something that's guarded heavily. You pull out your recon drone, scout out everyone so you don't have to worry about any surprises, and then you slowly pick them off from the sniper tops to all the way to the bottom, and however you want to do it, and rinse and repeat.
Okay, you
don't
can't do
have-
that anymore.
Wait, what?
The bodies stay on the ground, so if you just start shooting people, the guards will walk into bodies and
I mean,
like
that's yeah. That makes
they'll
sense.
Yeah.
see them and alert the
No,
base.
yeah.
I mean,
no,
yeah, you can definitely like, but I mean that goes for any game. Like, yeah, just grab a sniper and
Well,
sit outside AI range.
Yeah. that's
Like-
my point exactly. I'm trying to explain to John that it's just like any other open world now. There's no tactics involved. There's no uniqueness about
Well,
the
so
Ghost Recon series.
one thing is, there is one thing where now, if you get into like open combat and they like know where your position is, they'll radio in for reinforcements, and reinforcements will flank you.
Yeah, it's
So,
always
like,
beneficial to go in stealth.
Yeah, and yeah. So what I'm saying is like they definitely, it feels like they made a conceited effort to try to like limit that style of gameplay. Like you have to maintain your sniper stealth, and if you don't, you'll like get flanked by like ambush squads if you don't take out the like radio guys. But yeah, but you do have a point. It is very much like go into objective, clear out objective, get whatever you're there to get, or do whatever you're there to do, what, like, you know, whether it's blow something up or like get a VIP or get some files or whatever. And yeah, the open world feels super not alive, like super dead, even compared to Wildlands. Like Wildlands, it was set in Bolivia, and had it was like a whole cartel kind of plot, but there's still a lot of civilians around, right? So most of the streets are like taken up by civilian vehicles, and like there's towns with civilians in them. And Breakpoint's world just feels dead. Like the only people ever on the road are the enemy, like private military. There's like implication that life is still happening, right? Because you go to like factories and like laboratories and stuff that have people working there, like civilians working there, and like there's no beds here or anything. So like, what do you just stay here and sleep on the floor? Like, what's going on, right?
Yeah.
So there's like kind of a world disconnect there where it's like it feels like there should be civilians on the road, but there's not, and I don't understand why. And then also like the way that AI is just like randomly placed throughout the environment feels like haphazard and unrealistic, right? It feels like somebody play tested the game and was like, the open world is too big and I've been running for 15 minutes and I haven't seen anybody or done anything. So their solution was to just put random AI squads all over the place, even if it's like in the middle of the jungle or the middle of a swamp, with kind of no rhyme or reason to why they're there. Like it's not, they don't even really like put them near an outpost or anything. It's like literally just like a patrol. Like sometimes they'll be like next to a vehicle, so it's kind of like, okay, maybe they're doing like a scouting thing or like, but like sometimes it's straight up just a patrol out in the middle of nowhere, you know, 1-2 kilometers away from anything. And yeah, it feels lifeless. The AI also feel like, you play something like Metal Gear, where the AI is so like sophisticated in terms of like the way that they interact with each other and the way they interact with you and the way they interact with the world, right? And like games like Red Dead, right, where it's like NPCs have like an actual life cycle, right, where they like wake up in the morning, they go do stuff, and then they go home and they go to sleep,
They go
right?
home to their wife and children.
And it's like, yeah,
and the poopy diapers.
and like I don't know if Metal Gear exactly did that, but it was like kind of similar, where it's like you had soldiers on the map and they would like patrol and like move from base to base, and like and it just felt like organic and real in a way that Breakpoint doesn't.
Honey, I had such
right?
a rough
Breakpoint
day just
feels
walking in
very
circles.
much like a game. Yeah, right. Oh yeah, we just like walked around in circles in this
and then
one
this
area
one asshole
for
just killed everybody but
hours.
me
Yeah.
from like 3 miles away, and I just ran away. Whatever.
Mm-hmm. Whatever. Got into the car and drove away.
Shit, go pick up milk.
Couldn't catch
I'm
up
lucky
to
to
him.
be alive, woman.
I just want to mention with this update, with the immersion update that they did earlier, I'm so happy that you're able to toggle off the gear score, so it's back
Yeah.
to Wildlands.
Yeah,
and more
I
realistic.
actually turned on Gear Score and tried to play with Gear Score for a little bit, and like it's fine. It doesn't like it. It feels inconsequential, right? Like it feels like it didn't need to be there, and
Yeah.
like realistically, it like I actually don't really know why the Gear Score is there, because I don't know what it does. I don't
They're
know if
trying
like
to
any
make an
of their like
RPG out of it.
higher level do, but that's
Well-
the thing, is I don't know if they actually are. I wouldn't be surprised if they literally just like put the Gear Score there because like the like creative higher up that wanted the RPG elements there was like, I want RPG elements, so they just like put in fake RPG elements. And
Right.
like
Yeah, I
like
could see
I
that.
wouldn't be surprised if Gear Score doesn't do anything. The only elements in the Gear Score that like are RPG elements is that the guns get like bonuses,
Phew! Oh,
right?
excuse
So
me.
they'll get like
Oh no! There's like,
like-
not like Assassin's Creed, but like poison shit.
not quite,
Oh,
but it
okay.
will be like 20%
Oh,
bonus range,
Oh no!
or like
I feel like
you know,
other games tried
10%
doing that with
bonus
a
That's
shooter.
mobility.
dumb.
It's silly.
Yeah,
It's very
why would
silly.
you do that with a shooter? Especially like a Tom Clancy. Like Tom Clancy's like
Grounded.
IP. It's known for like
Yeah.
But
grounded military. Like what is this?
yeah,
What are
it's
they
like
doing?
clearly like it's like a lack of, or it's like being out of touch with what the audience
Yeah.
wants, right? And it's like I think the like running theme of how people felt about it when it came out was, why would I get this when I have the Division, or I can
Yeah.
get the Division because it came out a long time ago and it's cheaper than this, right? And also not as buggy and has had some time to have content updates and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like, I feel like it's a lack of perspective on what audiences want, and that like clearly now that like they realize that, because they've made a bunch of changes to Breakpoint and like added the AI teammates and added the immersion.
Yeah, I was about
mode
to say,
and stuff
I feel
that.
like Ubisoft usually does a pretty good job with like listening to the audience. But for some reason, they fall into the same goddamn trap every single time. Like every game they release, they're like, "Oh shit, we didn't mean to put that back in the game."
Yeah. Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
just like, why
Yeah.
though? Like, why did you do it in the first place? It was perfectly. I don't
Yeah.
know. Some of this shit doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah. So, but I'm enjoying it just because I enjoy that kind of like, tactical military gameplay. I tend to play all of these like Ubisoft style games for tons of hours. I have like all the trophies in Far Cry 3 and Far Cry 4 and Wildlands, and there's something about just like taking over outposts and that like stealth military slash like, if you bump the difficulty up, like firefights get pretty intense in Ghost Recon. So it's kind of fun. Story wise, it's kind of like whatever. I haven't really been thrilled about the acting, like the voice acting from most of the NPCs. The main character's pretty good, and what's his name? The guy from The Walking Dead.
Daryl.
No, not
The
Daryl.
Punisher.
The Punisher. Yeah.
Oh, he's like only 2 seasons, but yeah, that
Yeah.
guy.
But
Punisher,
yeah, that guy. I can't remember his name right now.
Yeah.
But he plays like the main antagonist, and he's really good.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the like side NPCs and like all the NPCs that give you like side quests, it sounds like they could not care less about their line reads and stuff like that. And it's kind of weird because it's like I feel like there might be interesting stuff in like being said in these side quests, but I like don't care enough. And like
I feel like that's the way the Tom Clancy games have
dialogue is
always
so
kind
bad,
of
so
been.
I'm like skipping through it.
Though.
Well, in Wildlands had actual cutscenes.
But even
right?
then, they weren't
And
compelling. Like,
I really enjoy a lot of the cutscenes in Wildlands. I mean, ultimately, a lot of them broke down to just being like interrogation scenes with the different like cartel leaders.
right.
But like, they were interesting, right? And also, there was a lot of like, Wildlands had a lot of missions where you're like picking people up and putting and like transporting them somewhere. And during those missions, they have a lot of dialogue. And because you had AI Squad, you had a lot of AI Squad dialogue, right? So like your squad mates would just talk about things, like they would just have ambient dialogue about things in the world when you would fly past things or like drive past things, and it really added to giving context to the world. And whereas like now everything is done in like either a in-world talking sequence that is clear that they like made as short as possible because they know that the player's going to get bored of this, or it's like a in-engine cut scene per se that's more like a talking sequence in something like a Bethesda game where it's just like not exactly over the shoulder, but like, you know, bust shot of the two your player character and the NPC as they cut back and forth during a dialogue. It's just boring, you know. It's shot boring, it's read boring, and it at that like it's one of those things where it's like might as well not even be there. Like that's kind of the nice thing about like Division is they realize that, like they know that like all the silly like all the world stuff in Division is really just set up so that you can go shoot stuff and get loot. But like it feels like Wildlands like doesn't have that
Division's by Ubisoft,
perspective,
right?
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah.
So it's
So
pretty
it's
much
like
making the same mistakes over.
That's what I'm saying. Like they just
Fixing the same
they
mistake,
remake
But
a new game and they're just like,
with-
oh fuck, well we just did that last game and
with
then we'll fix it later.
Division, I don't think it's a mistake with the Division though, because I think the Division is fine for what it is, right? Like I think the Division, because it was like marketed as that from the get.
So it's not necessarily that they're making the same mistakes. It's just they're not putting those elements into the right games.
Right. They're not they weren't differentiating their titles.
Yeah, they were just like, oh
and,
yeah, that works in this game. Let's do it again and again and again. And it's just like, no.
Yeah. And it probably has a lot to do with how buggy Breakpoint came out, because I'm sure that the developers were trying to go one direction with it, and then they would have higher ups come in and constantly be like, we don't like this, change it.
The higher ups like, my 10-year-old son likes loot and RPGs.
And
Make
RPGs,
that game.
and he's bored of the open world because there's nothing to do, and you need to add things to kill everywhere so that they can get loot.
I feel like no parent would sit there on that platform. You need to kill more stuff.
I don't know.
I mean, if you gotta sell games.
But that'd be much more acceptable than ass and titty.
Anyway, that's Breakpoint. It's like all right. I do want to see how it gets updated over time, to see if it like ends up any better than it is now. I don't want to play it with other people at some point because I've only played it by myself, and it's one of those games that like I think it really the gameplay stands out more when you set it to like a way higher difficulty and play it with a group of people. So it usually goes on sale all the time, so like for like super cheap because they know that nobody bought it.
For Ubisoft for pretty cheaply, like 67% off. So I don't know if
Yeah.
it's still on sale now.
Like
It's been a couple weeks.
67% off,
Yeah,
60
like-
bucks.
I
Off,
got it on PlayStation
yeah, I think
for
it's
like
still $60.
I got it on PlayStation for like $15.
And it has crossplay, right? I presume
So-
because like all.
No, it doesn't have
Oh.
crossplay. Ubisoft, most
awkward.
Ubisoft titles don't have crossplay.
Oh. There's your
Yeah.
problem.
Well,
Um,
well, if you get a
here
PJ,
is
at least
something
you
that
can
they're
play with
doing.
me.
They are. I don't know if they're doing it on the PC platform, but on the PlayStation 4, there's a trial version of the game that players can download. And normally it's like you boot it up and it gives you like an hour or like 2 hours or something like that to play the game, right? Because like open world games, it's kind of hard to do a demo because it's like, you know, it's not a linear mission that you can provide to the player. They kind of just get like the open world environment. But if a player using the trial version of the game is invited to a lobby by a player who owns the game, they can just play the game with them.
Huh.
Up until, I want to say it like said September 1st.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, so it's probably they're trying to do like a promotion where it's like, hey, if you have the game, tell your friends to come and play it with you, and then, you know, maybe they'll pick it up for $10 when this like deal is over if they want to keep playing it.
Okay. Maybe that will give me the incentive to break out the PS4.
Oh yeah, true.
That's my problem. My consoles are kind of. I have my Xbox hooked up so I can like stream console games, and I have my Switch hooked up because I play Pokemon. But the PlayStation's kind of just sitting there. The only person that plays it anymore is Sarah. So that's where I run into the issue of like, oh man, do I really want to waste all the time to set it up? But maybe this will be it. That way I can actually try it with you and give my feedback. But no promises.
So yep, hopefully Breakpoint gets better over time. I'm genuinely having fun with it. So Microsoft had their first party showcase, and they showed off a bunch of
Wow.
games. I don't know exactly what number, like 18 or something like that. We're not going to talk about all of them because there's way too many to talk about. We're just going to talk about, a lot of them kind of didn't really stand out.
Well,
But,
can we just review the whole entire conference in just one word?
Ambitious
No?
but bad. No.
What? That's three. Ambitious, but
Then
that's 3 words.
ambitious. And not bad.
I want to say underwhelming.
No, I disagree. I thought the conference was cool. But let's just go into the ones that we specifically
I'm
said.
going to say generous because all the games are on Game Pass.
Yeah, that's true.
Ooh.
Which is, people haven't really been talking about that at all, but it's kind of a big deal. Like pretty much every game that they showed during the showcase will be available on Game Pass with the subscription. So yeah, like Microsoft is like really leaning heavily into the like games as a
Good for them.
service, but like
Needs to be that way.
but not like a game as a service, like in the terms of Destiny, but like games as a service, like you know, a Netflix or something like that.
I'm okay
Yeah.
with that.
Or like a GameFly back in the day.
Yeah,
I can't believe GameFly is still a thing, by the way.
Is it, yeah, I think it's
I think it is still
Barely.
And yeah, we spoke a little bit about this last week with Sarah, but yeah, it provides a lot of like, it provides a low entry point for people who maybe haven't played a lot of games and don't know their tastes yet, right? And I've heard that, and like not heard personally from actual people, but like read and, you know, from like secondary sources and stuff like that, that having your game, like indie developers, just having your game on Game Pass increases sales of your game.
Yeah.
So it's like, it gives people a chance to like try out games that they wouldn't normally try out, and it also maybe shows players a genre or like a type of game that they wouldn't have normally played then they go off and buy adjacent titles that are maybe not on Game Pass. And so that's all really cool. And I'm definitely going to be playing some of it. Like depends because not all the games are on PC Game Pass. I don't think some of them might be like Xbox only. But anyway, let's jump into the actual games now. They started off the show with Halo Infinite.
Wow. Hello.
Oh,
How did you guys feel about the Halo Infinite demo?
I was stoked about it at first, and then everyone ruined my life.
Yeah, the gameplay itself seemed interesting, but as we got more information about it, the less I cared about it.
You know how we just talked about Breakpoint being very sparse and empty?
Mm-hmm.
That's what
Like,
I
you drive,
felt
like,
when I
30
watched
feet,
the
and then
trailer.
you kill 2 grunts, and then you drive another 30 feet, and there's a brute,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like literally nothing, just openness and
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
because I see what they're trying to do. Like I guess
No.
their excuse is, oh, we're on an abandoned, long forgotten Halo again. So that's their excuse. The only thing that's alive is Master Chief and the quote unquote Covenant or whatever they are this time.
vanished.
So I don't know.
Well, they do have a little like wildlife and stuff, which I like. They added in Reach. They had like
Yeah, I saw,
animals
like, the
and
deer
stuff like
type
that,
things,
which
and
is
I thought that
cool.
was cool. Because that,
Yeah.
I thought it was awesome that they finally did that. I never thought they were going to. I remember in the Halo 2 like post video that for the special edition that they released where they showed the animals in the environment, but they never
Yeah.
incorporated
Well,
them.
even well in Halo 1, well before it turned into a first-person shooter, it was an RTS. They had wildlife on
Right.
Halo. They just had to cut it for time, I guess. But in Reach, they actually had wildlife of Reach, the
Right.
planet, which was cool. And it's cool
Even
seeing that here.
design on the creatures was really awesome, and I was glad to see that. But
Mhm.
that aside, I was excited for it. I haven't seen a Halo in a while, and I wasn't excited for one in a bit. 5 was okay, um, but I was kind of excited for Infinite. All the stuff that people are saying is bothering me a little bit, so I'm like, yeah, that's
Like
true.
let's jump into that stuff.
So,
well, yeah. Well, so like, what do you mean in terms of like the game being empty? Or are we talking specifically
there's
about
that, the
graphics?
graphics,
Let's
stuff like
go.
that.
So it's rumored, well not rumored, has it announced it's open world, right?
Yeah.
That's
so
my biggest problem.
Yeah, that's the thing is like when I watch the gameplay. So like gameplay wise, it's
Right.
Halo,
Oh,
right?
yeah, it's
Like
Halo,
it looks like Halo, and Halo is good. Like it, the shooting in Halo is good.
It's a solid,
whatever, right?
well-established formula.
Yeah, like, but watching the gameplay, I couldn't help but feel like it was. I couldn't help but feel Destiny vibes.
Oh
Mhm.
no.
Of like, it's just kind of an open world space, and there's just like enemies who spawn in specific locations, and it's like you're gonna start to see the inner workings of the game, right? Where it's like, okay, this area, there's always a Covenant dropship that comes in and drops off some units, right?
Yeah.
And like their goal they've admitted is like to make it always feel like the second level of Halo Combat Evolved, right? When you like first get on the Halo ring,
right?
And it feels like you can go anywhere, even though it's like a linear level, like realistically. But it just has, it feels like it's open ended. You can go anywhere you want in the Halo. So I think that they're like trying to invoke that feeling by actually doing that.
It's like,
well,
so
and it was fine in the classic Halo, or well, I don't even know what you want to call them, classic Halos, but the Halos in general, because they were so linear to have predestined spawns.
Yeah.
But when you switch to open world, it's a whole other animal that you have to approach. Like you have to have 3 or 4 possible spawn points everywhere.
Yeah, and at that point is the variable is the player. when back in the day when it was linear, it was curated, so it didn't like you can avoid that feeling of emptiness because you know, oh, this is where this event's going to happen, this is where all this action is going to happen, and in between all that action, you can make a scenic like approach to it as well, or something like that, and really
The
curate the experience.
whole
Open world, it's up on up
the
to you.
game in itself feels like they tried taking the classic Halo formula and just shoehorning it into an open world game. And that's the part that bothers me the most now, like going more into it, because all I looked at it for when I was watching the presser was, oh, Halo. I want to see if anything's different. Oh, it's not. That's fine. I love Halo. I'll play it anyhow. But then when I started
Yeah,
thinking
I
about all
mean,
the other things that people are complaining about, I'm like, that's true. Why have an open world if you're going to do exactly the same thing but make it so people aren't on a rail system?
yeah, exactly. I'm getting those same vibes where, oh, I've always played Halo, I've always enjoyed it, but is it really innovative? Are they really elevating my gameplay with this so-called next
So
gen
then you have to ask
experience?
yourself as a game
Right.
developer, do you want to have the Insomniac uh complex with Pokemon, or not Game Freak, sorry. Not
Wait, what?
Insomniac, Game Freak.
Game
What are
Freak.
you
Um
talking
What?
about?
do you want to have the Game Freak Pokemon complex where it's just like the game's not broken, don't fix it, and people are still buying it?
Oh, the Pokemon games are
Yeah,
broken.
because
But
as it looks.
Or do
Oh, go
you
ahead.
want
Did you want to say
to
something? Go ahead.
no,
recreate the whole
it's
game from
next.
the top up like they did with Breath of the Wild for Legend of Zelda? And that's what you
Well,
need
the
to do if
problem
you're
is
going to go that route.
what. Yeah. Well, what Joey said is that they were trying to revisit the second level of Halo. I mean, so we haven't seen the whole game yet, so it might be different. But it does look like it's gonna be open world on a ring. But the second level for at least for me, of Halo, wasn't that memorable. It was the beach storming level. It was the sniping level. That nighttime level. You know, it's like just choosing one kind of nostalgic like level design and basing that whole world off of that. Again, it's like we don't know if that's the case, but it just seems
Wait, that was the
And
idea
like,
behind
like
the
like
game?
if
it's just.
and
Well, they were saying
not
like,
like
oh,
behind the
Halo
game,
Infinite
but
is gonna bring back Halo, Combat Evolved vibes,
they
and that was
took
the
it as
only vibes I was
inspiration.
getting. Yeah, it's like that's the only vibe
Yeah,
I'm
but
getting from it.
that was the problem with Combat Evolved. Like the first level, it was so aimless, just driving around in the Warthog,
That was the
or
second
second
level.
level,
Yeah,
whatever it was.
yeah, that's why it
It
wasn't it
it
wasn't the most memorable level to me.
But see, that's the thing is so many people have a
I
reverence for that.
hated that.
Like
Even like
that,
in Halo, was it 3, where you're on the desert portion, um, or desert
Mhm.
world or whatever you're on,
oh yeah, those
and you're
levels
just like, what the
suck.
fuck? Where am I supposed to go? And you drive in circles 500
Yeah,
times, and then
Yeah,
you
yeah.
finally find this one area and drive into a cutscene, and it's just like, oh, it was right there that whole fucking time. I hated that feeling. I'm
yeah.
not playing Halo to go exploring. I'm playing Halo to get through a storyline.
Well, I don't know. It depends on how it's done,
Yeah.
right? So like ODST is an open world,
Hmm.
right? It's kind of small open world, um, and has a lot of like corridors and stuff like that. It's not just like
Yeah.
an open like big open space. I think a big problem with like that particular Halo 3 level is that they're not very good about like giving you objective markers and
Yeah.
telling you exactly where you need to
Yeah, if
go in
you're gonna
those
do
levels.
that, then
And they're a little too big for their own good.
Yeah. Because like Halo One, my favorite level is the island level, and that was essentially a small kind of
which one?
scaled down open world. You could the island when you have to storm the island.
Trying
I
to
forget what it's
remember what
called.
you're talking about.
But you storm it, and then a warthog gets dropped, and you can drive around. But you can take that approach like pretty. I mean, there's one real approach you can go, but it's big enough where you can kind of choose your path, and it felt open world enough or open enough for you to do whatever you want, but still contained. And there's like individual sections on the island where you have different combat like scenarios, and that's what I imagine Halo. Like that's the type of gameplay it is. It's you get these tools, you have a big enough playground to kind of play your own style, but you don't have to. There's some backtracking in that level too, but it's like if you make the whole game like that, I
Hmm.
don't I don't think
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's the thing is like because I think I think the for an open world game, right? What makes like an open world game really special is how well the open world capitalizes on game mechanics, right? Like that's what makes Breath of the Wild so special is
Yeah.
that there's so many ways that the game world interacts with Link and like ways that you can interact with the game world in different ways. And there's like
Yeah.
multiple ways of solving puzzles that are just logical and
Yeah.
like things just work the way that you think they would work. And there's fun things to find and like places
Yeah.
to explore,
There's like
right?
history, like there's history, and like you can like there's ancient like ruins and stuff.
So like if they get that stuff right in Halo,
But
then
it's a
there could
Halo
be
rank.
some like interesting. So like yeah, that's I mean you could have Forerunner stuff
Yeah, but
that,
it's like artificial
but
world, so it's like how
um,
could you bring that? I mean,
right.
maybe you can't. I don't know.
And the other thing is like when it comes to open world combat sandboxes, right? And it's like one of those things where, um, to jump back to Breakpoint, right, or like Ghost of Tsushima, they have like multiple play styles where based on like what, uh, like how you want to approach the game, right? So it's like you have stealth, you have just all out like loud, you know, big energy combat. Like I'm just gonna run in and blow stuff up, um, or like somewhere in between, right? And then like Far Cry gives you like a bunch of tools and stuff to like come up with wacky different ways to set up how you're going to take out an outpost and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Halo in general has got to just kind of like, I don't know. They need to change the formula, but also rebuild the whole entire game from the ground up, and I don't think they're gonna do it in this game at all. Infinite has a lot more like to work on. I think 343 Industries has a lot to build up before anything actually changes and becomes like good. So
You guys want to talk about the
yeah,
graphics? It looks like a 360 game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of.
Like
Yeah.
especially like that like I went back
it
and
looks worse than a
looked at the
360 game.
textures on the Brute and like yeah, the textures are so like gross and muddy looking and like
Yeah.
I saw some like pictures where people pointed out like there's a bit where like you can see that Elite is not casting a shadow and like it's like guys, I know that it's like a demo and the game
Yeah.
doesn't come out for a little bit, but it's
The whole
like
They're
presentation was
showcasing
lazy.
this.
The whole thing. Like there was
Yeah.
so many.
well, do you mean the entirety of like the Microsoft presentation
No,
or do you mean
the
the
Halo
Halo
presentation.
presentation?
Like there was
Okay.
so little to show for after years of development. And that's I think the thing that makes it so underwhelming to see. It's not that it's a Halo game, we got to shit on it because it should be better than the rest of them. I don't care if the game has issues. I didn't care if it was laggy. Like if it was an old Sony presentation where there's like obviously the game had a lot of stuff in it and there was some technical difficulties or like maybe there's one or two gripes that people had, then you're just nitpicking. But this is legit shit. Like people are looking at this and going, "Why are we set back 10 years in technology?" It's very, I don't know. It's almost a slap to the face of Halo fans. Anyone else agree with that?
And where like Breath of the Wild
Right.
came out on both the Switch
Oh,
and the
no.
Wii U. And actually, I think it ran better on the Wii U.
Consoles.
Ah.
Damn you.
So yeah, that might have a little bit to do with um, why Halo Infinite looks the way it does. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't really super impressed, but it remains to be seen how like the multiplayer is, and who knows? Maybe the like world is really well fleshed out and it's interesting to explore, and it's just something that we couldn't really get from their demo that they showed.
Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I'm waiting for them to do their redemption trailer. Uh, like after they polish everything up and get the feedback from the community. I bet you they will, and Microsoft's not gonna just let 343 Industries sleep on it. You know,
Well, I don't.
it's
The thing is,
I,
I don't know if they have time, right?
I
Because
don't.
if
when
they,
Yeah,
does
they
it
don't have
come
time.
out?
like the game has to come out this year, like
Yeah.
November or something like that.
Also, it's like they released. So there's a game quote unquote gameplay trailer with a cut like an in engine cutscene of the brute talking. Like that should be polished. Like that small
Yeah.
trailer should be completely polished for like
True.
consumption, and it's not. It's like really waxy texture. Like the texture, there's no detail in it.
You can
Character.
feel the lack of time.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you if you don't have a small like 1 minute trailer like polished, your game isn't gonna be polished in what, how many months? 4 months?
Well,
3 months?
the other thing though too is like we've talked about before, Microsoft has a lot of pull and power and like they can shift stuff around. So I'm wondering if maybe they'll put some
Yeah.
other game companies that they own to assist.
Yeah.
But like, what does that do, right? Like, then you might just run into a situation where you have too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah.
You can't just throw numbers at something
I mean, at this
Um,
point,
and like expect it to be
they
fixed.
kind of don't have a choice, unless if they delay it.
Yeah. Well, I will say this is a better situation than the Watchdog situation when they showed
Yeah,
the
showed
game,
something that
something that
it's
was
not
not
gonna
possible,
Yeah.
in the current generation. And then when the game came out, it's like, oh, this is doo doo. This is nothing. Well, it's not doo doo, but it's like it's nothing like you
Right.
showed us.
I'm-
So I could kind of would rather have this.
I feel like
situation
this is
than-
just
yeah,
the age of
it coming out.
overpromising. Because we're
Yeah.
so
Which that's what scares me. It's like if this is what the presentation
I
is it going to
feel-
be worse?
I feel more like this is the age of under promising because everybody's so skittish about
Mm-hmm.
like over promising like Watch Dogs and No Man's Sky that they will
Yeah.
under promise.
So this could be a good thing.
Who knows? The game might look better than this, but they
Yeah.
were like, let's just like show this because we know
so they
we can
bait
hit
and
this.
switched us.
We're gonna try for better.
Yeah, this looks like
Set the
Halo
bar
1.
low.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Set
they-
the bar low, so when you come out of the gate swinging, when you actually come out,
Yeah.
people are like, "Whoa, whoa!" Didn't
Right.
expect
So
that.
then it looks like Halo
Yeah.
2
The cool thing-
remastered, and they're like, "Oh, this actually looks fine."
The cool
Yeah,
the cool thing is that Halo is such a big name, a big franchise that I think they can afford to sacrifice some marketing.
Well, people are
if
still
that's
gonna
the case,
buy it regardless of how it
because
looks.
people are loyal to it. Yeah, they love
I
it.
ain't loyal.
Bitch ain't loyal.
I
Oh,
left
and
after
also,
4.
see, I'm glad that this is gonna be on Game Pass, so I can actually play it on the computer. instead of
Yeah,
getting
that's
but
it
when are we
Xbox.
gonna get it on Game Pass? Is another discussion altogether.
I don't know.
I think it said it
I
was.
think day and date.
Oh,
we'll
really?
talk
Day,
about
yeah.
that too, yeah.
It was on the day.
Oh,
I
that's
think it was
cool.
announced. Yeah, on the day.
I think
Release.
everything that comes out on Game
Yeah.
Pass is day and date to Game
No,
Pass.
but I mean like
Yeah.
for Xbox Game Pass or PC Game Pass, because they're considered two
Both.
separate entities. So I mean, if that's the truth, then cool.
I think both.
But if not, then
I might be wrong. but I
it's
think
just
both.
that's usually not
Both.
Microsoft's style.
so.
They're usually more about selling their
Yeah,
hardware
staggering stuff.
rather than their software.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I don't know.
but
And there's
remember
their
that
game
they're
division, I should
changing
say.
their whole business. They're changing their whole business model and using Xbox, the new Xbox, as another platform for selling their service, which is Xbox Game Pass.
Mhm.
It's not like
Yeah.
it's not like PlayStation where they're still trying to work on exclusives.
Mhm.
Hey, buy this PS5. You're only gonna get the
Yeah,
good
well,
games
but
here.
Sony doesn't have their own
Yeah.
OS, so it makes sense.
Yeah. Well, that's the
Right,
whole
so that's what
point.
we're saying.
They're gonna make more money. Like overall, Microsoft is probably gonna make more money with this $15 a
Than
month
selling the consoles,
situation
and
with
it's
Game
cheaper.
Pass than
the-
selling
It's cheaper
Xbox.
than creating Xboxes too.
So moving on because it's another Game Pass
Pass.
and Halo Infinite and stuff. Like who knows? Maybe Halo will
Yeah,
be good,
who knows?
but I don't know. We'll see.
Mhm.
We'll see.
We shall.
Anyway,
see.
moving on. Avowed /
Avowed.
Fable.
Wow,
big RPG is
Fable.
getting announced
Oh,
from Microsoft. Avowed is being developed by Obsidian, makers
Wow.
Pillars of Eternity, and Fallout New Vegas.
Wow.
And then Fable is actually being developed by Playground Games, who
Who
have
are those
been
guys?
responsible for the Forza Horizon series.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of a weird transition, but who knows?
Pretty,
Both of
yes.
these just had teaser trailers. They didn't really actually show any gameplay for either of them or give any dates. Avowed is going to be set in the Pillars of Eternity universe.
Oh wow.
What's that?
So that's
tabletop?
it's a
Or
it's a classic RPG series
okay.
by Obsidian,
Okay.
right? And then Fable, of course, it's Fable.
So
The question
So what do you
is
guys-
Fable going to be an RPG? Has that been announced? Because the last 2 games, I looked it up. It was one was a on-rail shooter or something like that, and then the other one was like
I think this is
weird.
this
the
is a
kids
call
I would
back
game.
to the
assume it's a
original,
return to form.
because just based off of what they're showing, and I appreciate.
I don't know. They didn't really show much.
No, I know that, but like I feel like there would be more of a gimmick involved if they were trying to go like different route, and it wouldn't be just Fable as the title. It would have some sort of title. I think they're trying to do like a reboot of the series, um, just based off of the trailer. I I
I know.
I'm still skeptical too, but just based off of the fact that they kept it as Fable for the title, and then the fact that they did like the pan up of the castle and the like the land makes me think like that's gonna be back to that. And I appreciate Fable's trailer because it shows off some beauty, like what they're capable of making things look like, but it also still it is.
CG trailer though. That wasn't in game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't even take that as like that's the art style or that's how it's gonna look in game. That's like
It's the hype.
Okay,
you up.
so
yeah, it's just a hype.
minus that,
CG
even
trailer.
it still has the Fable humor in it, and that's what I appreciate is that they've kept that.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to consider it. Like, yeah, it
British
is, and
humor.
it's very, and I enjoy that.
It's like Monty Python
Versus Avowed,
yeah, I
like
that.
Avowed
Dry,
looks
witty.
fun,
Dry,
but
witty,
it seems too dry for me. I enjoyed Fable for its
Well-
out there-ness, you know.
Yeah, like Avowed comes off as it's going to be a conventional Western RPG, right? Like it's basically honestly, it's basically going to be like Obsidian's Skyrim, right? First person open world fantasy
Bethesda.
RPG, right? So yeah, we'll talk a little bit about both Fable and Avowed comparing to like other games, but like for Avowed, right, when we're talking like first person fantasy RPGs, there's not very many of those on the market, right? Like they don't come out very often. Skyrim's kind of the only one.
Yeah.
Or like the Elder Scrolls series as a whole. There's some, here and there, but not. Few of them don't really lean as much into the fantasy stuff, like Kingdom Come, for instance. I don't know how much Skyrim you guys have played,
A lot.
but
A little bit.
when looking for when talking about a new third person or first person fantasy RPG, what are you looking for? Like, what do you want that like Skyrim doesn't have, or does have that you want?
I don't play enough of those to like be able to comment on that. I just want Fable to be what it was before. I enjoyed 2 and 3, and I know that those were a little less. Oh,
We're talking about
well,
Avowed.
I thought you said in these games, but
Well, because I was going to compare Fable more to things that are more comparable to Fable, right? So like The Witcher 3.
Yeah.
Or
Fable is
I mean,
like
I
a
guess we
super
can compare them
huge
both,
RPG.
but
But
they're like kind of different in their structure.
to an
I feel
extent,
like.
I'm not gonna play Avowed. It's
Yeah.
just too dry for me, and I've played too many. In my opinion, I only played a few, but
Well, but like you don't really play Skyrim or like the Fallout game. Like you don't really play
not
Bethesda
so
games
much.
either.
I have like I played Fallout 3. I played Skyrim. I played Elder Scrolls. It's not game that I haven't touched before. I just haven't played them all the way through. I definitely am in the realm of like 20 to 30 hours per game, just because it loses my attention after a while. I don't care enough. After one point or another, I'm just like putting levels into shit because I have to, or I feel like I have to. Versus the people that get hardcore.
Yeah, I
about
think
it.
that's
I've never felt that way for Skyrim. Like
It
leveling up
felt
just for the
better
sake of
than
leveling up,
Elder
I just felt like it was very
Scrolls,
natural.
but it still felt like
Wait, which one?
wait, Skyrim.
no,
is
but I
Elder
mean
Scrolls.
the
That's the series.
original, like what was the one before? Oh, Oblivion. Yes,
Like you
that's
mean
what I meant.
Oblivion?
Oblivion,
Oblivion's before it?
just
Yeah.
like I don't know. Oblivion to me became more of a like, how bad can I fuck up this game? How bad can I make it glitch? Like I joined the Brotherhood and I killed the messenger, and
Yeah.
then they sent another messenger and another one, and I just kept killing them, and it got to a point where they ran out of messengers, and then like I just died because of it. Like the game fucked up and didn't know what was going on. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
like
that
sound like the
that
game.
to me was more fun than actually playing the game. And then the same thing with Skyrim. I did a quest where I was supposed to assassinate a guy with like a moose head or something like that, and like set it up to fall on him, and it glitched to where his butler came out from behind a wall and chased me into town, and then the butler ended up killing the guy instead of me, and so I didn't get credit for it, and the mission disappeared. I was like, oh, that's cool. So I have a habit of breaking those games.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Okay,
the thing.
so with like bugs and breaking the game aside, right?
Well,
in
I mean, I
terms
want to
of-
go off of
oh,
that. Like for
well, go ahead,
Avowed,
yeah.
for like a Skyrim or Elder Scrolls kind of style RPG, I would like to have a very like polished and not.
But I feel like
janky.
in a game like that, it's
Like,
hard
pretty
to
much
do
I
that.
want Skyrim, but less janky, and also like Skyrim you can tell like the NPCs are all kind of the same, you know. It's like I want it to be more immersive and more just like lived in. Feels like it's more lived in. uh that's my biggest problem with
Kind of like Red Dead Redemption, probably.
yeah,
Those NPCs.
yeah, it's like those like in Skyrim the NPCs have their, you know, the cycle, the life cycle, which like they wake up, go to work,
Yeah.
you know, have
Well,
that stuff.
it's
That's
like
great.
I
They were
think the
just a
problem
little
is
too
that
primitive, though.
in Skyrim you have your like named NPCs that have that like
Yeah.
cycle and stuff, but then you have a bunch of like random unnamed NPCs that
Yeah,
are just kind of
and then
like
even-
people who are set dressing to the world.
Yeah, and it's like not even like well done. It's like, so it's like you have a character who's like a dark elf and they have a child, but you realize the child isn't a dark elf child model. It's a human
Yeah,
model, because they don't
but-
like they didn't have the time to like model a child model
But
just
in
for
that,
that
like,
character.
I don't think.
So,
Do you feel like they could have easily done that to Skyrim, or is that like not with the time that Skyrim was developed at? Because I feel like I'm the latter.
True. Yeah, like Skyrim came
Yeah.
out a decade ago, so like
And-
there's been
Yeah,
a ton of
yeah.
advancements
Like, look
in
how
like
far
game
they've
systems
come.
and AI.
Like, you can't really compare the Skyrim.
well, the thing is
to
that there was mods
Red
that
Dead
fixed that though.
Redemption.
It's like so they
Yeah.
made, so there's a couple. I remember there's like a few like characters that said they're one thing, but they didn't have a unique model for it. But there was a mod to fix that. So it's like some of these things I think
Yeah.
are just like they feel like, okay, the player won't notice that, so we're just gonna kind of.
But I
still
feel
want
like
that quest,
they
right?
should think
So
that
it's
the
like
player will
it's-
notice that, especially when a player
Yeah,
plays
exactly,
like thousands
'cause-
of hours on their game and they have
Yeah,
proof of that with
'cause when I-
Oblivion.
Right. Yeah, it's like when I play an RPG, I want to be immersed in it. I want to be.
It's
I want to
easier
feel like I'm living the
to
world, you know.
ignore
And-
the blotch spot on a painting that you messed up than to try to paint over it and fix it. I think
Well,
is their
yeah.
mentality.
And it also says a lot for, like, it says a lot when you're forced to use a mod to quote unquote patch the actual game.
Yeah, to like
where-
fix the
whereas-
game.
Whereas mods
Like
should
change
be
the
used
scenery.
to
To
enhance
make
the
it so
game.
you want to play
Yeah.
more. Yeah.
Make it your own. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I agree with that.
One, and the second
Yeah.
thing is, I would like more memorable side quests or just quests in general. Because I remember
Sure.
Oblivion. I played Oblivion. I remember more of Oblivion's quests than Skyrim.
True.
they're
No, I'm
more
with you on
unique.
that
Yeah,
for
so-
sure. I haven't played Oblivion in over a decade, but I think I remember more
Oblivion
quests
is
than I do
what, another
Skyrim
7 years
quests.
older than Skyrim, so it's almost 2 decades old now.
No, it's only 5
5?
years older than
Oh,
Skyrim.
okay.
Yeah.
Oblivion came out 2006.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Or 5, somewhere around there.
It's either like they got new writers or they just ran out of ideas because they're like, oh, Oblivion had so cool of quests. Let's just do fetch quests for the sequel.
That's
it's
the same problem. I
kind of
feel like a
weird.
lot. It's a trap that games fall into. It's just like it's so much easier just to do something that's defaulted in all other games than try to one up yourself.
Yeah. So, like, going back to things that we hope to see in these games, I want to see like strong factions with like robust
Factions,
faction missions and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
To like go back to the Skyrim Oblivion discussion.
Yeah.
And I don't remember much of Fable, but you might be able to chime in with Fable.
They didn't have factions.
Like Oblivion, you have like the fighters guild,
Okay, yeah.
and, the mages
Thieves
guild,
Guilds,
right?
Yeah.
And the Thieves Guild, and like I felt like they were so much stronger in Oblivion than
For
they were in
sure.
Skyrim.
Oh, yeah.
Like the companions were kind of whatever, the Mage Guild stories kind of whatever in Skyrim. I can't even remember really the Thieves Guild story or the Brotherhood story.
Well,
In Oblivion.
Whereas like I remember the
Or
Brotherhood
Skyrim.
story in Oblivion because
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
was crucial.
That
Like
was
you know
really
the whole
crazy.
betrayal.
so
and,
the other
like,
thing that
yeah.
I really liked in Oblivion was the species traits and stuff like that. Like that, and I don't know if was that in Skyrim.
Yeah.
I just feel like Skyrim was,
I think it was,
They
but
had
they
it.
kind of toned down a little bit on some of those
which
hard
was
RPG
super
elements,
cool
right?
though.
Yeah.
It was kind of like
Yeah.
a trend across the Elder Scrolls games.
Because
Yeah.
I'd rather
where, like,
have
Yeah.
that than
They-
not have it. Because like I picked a
Yeah.
tiger and
Right.
he
Well,
could see at
yeah,
night, and it's just like that's so cool to me.
Oh, that's still in Skyrim.
Yeah, it's still there.
Yeah.
The thing I
And
I
like
don't think-
Argonian breathing and like
Yeah, Argonian, because I remember in Oblivion, I chose as the Argonian, and the dialogue choice, well, not the dialogue, but the tone of the people were different because they're kind of racist against the lizard people,
Oh yeah.
and you got
Yeah,
I
it's
got
like-
that from Oblivion, but I feel like Skyrim didn't really do
Skyrim
much of
didn't have
that.
as much of it. Yeah. And that's one thing is like making the game world feel organic and like real, right? Where it's like you are a agent in the game world, but the game world is also like an agent on you, right? Like the game world reacts to you
Yeah.
as much as you are reacting to the game world.
Choices matter, and your first choice was your character.
Yeah, and I want to see
Yeah.
that in a new RPG. So it's like if you choose like a big giant different species other than human, like there should be some history
Yeah.
behind that species. And
And
like, characters shouldn't interact that way.
yeah, and with like Fable, Fable doesn't really have like picking different species, but Fable could do it with either like race if they really want to like go down that route.
Yeah.
Or they can do it with like your character's physique, right? Because like the Fable games are all built around, your character changing physically over time.
Once they kind of did that, because like when you got evil, you got horns, people started running away from you.
Yeah. But
Which
it's
was
like if your character like physically gets way bigger, it's easier to like intimidate characters or something like that, right?
Can't
Yeah, you
fat?
could
They
get
give me
fat.
in that game.
You
Like,
can, yeah.
depending on what you eat
Yeah.
and stuff.
But then and also you throw in like your potential like class status. Like there's really interesting things that they can do with the game worlds
Yeah.
and like the way that the game worlds interact with the character based on like parameters around how the character exists in the game world, like your status in the game world. And I think we'll probably definitely get this with Avowed because Obsidian has always leaned really heavily into that type of stuff, right? With like Fallout New Vegas, right? Fallout 3, everybody knows has like the karma system, right? Which kind of just boils down to a binary good or bad. And New Vegas has the karma system, but like it's just kind of there. The real system in New Vegas is the reputation system, right? Where
Factions,
yeah,
like
based on how you interact with the different factions, you have a reputation that either goes up or goes down, and then the factions react to you differently. That if you have a bad reputation with them, when they see you, they might be rude to you, or if it's bad enough, just shoot on sight.
Right.
And it will. I hope to see like those types of systems really delve like I hope they delve deep into those types of systems and like make them really robust and interesting.
For Avowed.
Yeah, for Avowed and Fable too. You know, like
I don't know. I feel like Fable is I feel like the good and evil kind of thing is just very cartoonish and silly. That's why I think it
Yeah.
fits for that kind of.
yeah, it's a little bit more like fairy tale,
Yeah, fairy
binary
tale.
kind of. Yeah, you're right. Whereas like Obsidian always tries to tell these like nuanced stories where things are more morally gray and there's not
Yeah.
necessarily like a right or a wrong.
Yeah, for that kind of story, for that kind of game.
Whereas Fable definitely does lean into the like good or evil.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
oh, but the only thing I want back from Fable, the previous, actually no, I think it's only Fable 2 that had it. So I want RPG, right? Good RPG. But also I want you to be able to have unprotected sex and get an STI.
Yeah. I mean, that has to be in there, right?
It wasn't in
I
Fable
bet
3.
that'll
It
be
was
in
in
the
Fable
back
3.
door.
No, it was.
I don't think it was.
I
wow,
guaranteed
really?
it
That's
was.
stupid.
No, it wasn't
Fable
3.
2.
I remember I went on a
Okay.
quest to see how
Alright.
many I could get, and I think I like topped off at 30.
Okay,
I didn't even think there was that many
maybe it was.
All right.
that you could
Well,
get. But
But yeah, so they got to bring that back.
Yeah, I think that's the type of thing that's like a
it's
staple.
yeah,
to
it's
a
so
franchise. They gotta have
stupid,
that
but
in
it's necessary. Yeah.
there. All right, are we good on this one?
Oh, we
Alrighty. Moving on. Maybe we can bang out this one pretty quickly. Tell Me Why was shown. It's a new game by Don't Nod.
Oh wow.
And they different company called Interior Night showed a game called As Dusk Falls.
Wow.
Both of these are kind of like narrative drama, you know, your typical kind of like story, heavily story based, heavily narrative, almost like visual novel, adventure gamey type of games, right?
It's worth mentioning that Tell Me Why is featuring a first ever trans character voiced by a trans voice actor.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah, so really cool for them to like break bounds, and I think that Don't Not has always tried to kind of have more representation and stuff.
Is it the male or the female
in their
character?
games?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it might
I'm
be the
pretty sure
male.
it's the male. Yeah.
That's cool though.
So
guy,
but we were talking about how As Dusk Falls has a very striking art style. It's almost like a graphic novel come
So
to life,
beautiful.
where it's like you have 3D rendered environments, but then like 2D paintings of the characters, and it looks like visually striking and interesting and like pretty, whereas Tell Me Why kind of looks old.
Is there
and
sorry,
not really that great.
Yeah, for As Dusk Falls, is there like actual gameplays or it's just that?
It's just the one
announcement trailer
for right now.
I think it's just
Okay.
that like trailer.
Okay.
But it just feels like they haven't made very many graphical enhancements since like when they first started doing these like narrative games, right?
Life is
like
Strange.
what was the first one? Life is Strange.
Yeah.
Right? It feels like the Tell Me Why isn't
Okay,
that much better.
So I'll
graphically
counter
than
that
Life is
because I'm
Strange.
looking at the trailer right now. The Life is Strange and this is problem is the close up like interactions with humans. The environments are beautiful.
Right. Yeah, okay,
have
you're
them
right. Like the
spot on.
environments look fine. It's just
Are
a lot
bad,
of the facial textures
and they're very
like
it's not
close-ups.
it's not even that they're bad. There's not enough texture on them. It's the same thing that brutes are suffering from in Halo. It's just right.
They look
there's
plasticky.
not enough work on them yet. So that's the issue. The environments are a little bit simpler
They
because
kind of look like
right. The environments
Barbie
are a little
dolls.
bit simpler, I think, for them because they can kind of do like an artistic manner, but it still looks great in the Unreal Engine. I think that's what they're using is the Unreal Engine. That's what it looks like anyhow.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're still in the Unreal Engine. But yeah, narratively, I think Tell Me Why looks really interesting.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I think it will be good. It's just graphically,
You
I
gotta
kind of
look the
wish
other
that
way.
Don't Nod would
Yeah,
take a step up a
because
little bit.
that's the problem that Life is
Um,
Strange has.
Is it
I
just a
don't think
budget
so because
issue,
I think
or
they're making a decent amount now because of Life is Strange and stuff like that. But it
okay?
yeah, I think
Because
they
you have
do.
like AAA game
you
with
get
full
you get
on motion
stuck
capture and all
into
that
a
stuff.
comfort
These
zone,
look
and
like
I think they're
it's
comfortable with
pretty
Unreal and they
basic.
understand how it
Yeah.
works. And it's just like, why change your engine if you can bang out the game quicker?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, wasn't that the same with
Yeah,
like
they got
Telltale
stuck
games
in
back
their
in the day when
ways.
The Walking Dead
And
they pretty much had that same graphical style even when they moved on to a different series.
yeah,
It
because
was
then you
still
felt
that
like you were
same
playing
kind
the
of
exact
comic
same
booky
game
looking.
over and over again with a different
Yeah.
theme or genre. Excuse
But I
me.
think they had bigger problems, like yeah, background behind the
Yeah.
scenes problems because of that.
Anyway, that was probably pretty good. As Dusk Falls, like its art style, it makes me wonder if maybe we're saying like a advancement of the visual novel genre, right? Like,
You're
are we going to
you're
see a transition? Are like visual novel games going to start to look like this, where they have like rendered 3D environments, but with the like, you know,
Yeah, I do
well,
hope
you're
like
taking
that.
the
drawn
idea of the
characters
moving
inside of them.
book, which is really cool.
Yeah, this is more moving books. Like I mean, it's pretty, but I don't think I can play a whole game where it's just still characters, just
Interacting.
kind of like
There's other games that are like this
slideshow.
though that do it
Yeah,
very well,
slideshow
and
stuff.
you don't notice it after a while. Like at the very beginning, it's like, oh, that's really cool, and then you're like, oh, this can take some time to get used to, and then by the middle of the game, you're like, not even paying attention to that anymore. You're just paying attention to
Yeah,
the story.
I don't like that because
And
I'm a very huge fan of, like animation and like
true,
I
yeah.
just I
What I
can't.
can say, it just depends on how like good the writing is, right? So
Yeah,
like
the
I'm
writing
thinking
has to.
like Metal Gear codexes, which are literally just still images of the characters,
Yeah,
but
well,
there's so much
yeah.
life there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, you're
Um,
just reading it for the most part. Wait,
yeah.
there's text.
So we'll
Yeah.
have to see with that one. But yeah, Tell Me Why it looks like it has a good story. As Dusk Falls has a very, very striking art style. And it looks like it has a pretty interesting story as well. They kind of have like a hook at the end of the trailer, so I kind of want to see where that goes. As Dusk Falls seems to be a pretty far way out. They didn't really give a release date or anything like that. Whereas Tell Me Why is coming out soon. I think the first episode of Tell Me Why comes out in August.
As Dusk Falls
like
probably has at least another year of development.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we good on this one? Anybody want to close out with any final statements on these two?
Now I want to play
Alright,
a game as
moving on.
Duck Falls.
I like it. I like it.
Games.
I want that to be something.
Duck falls.
Duck
It's just
Falls.
okay, perpetually falling duck.
All right. The last one that we're going to talk about
I'm
is
really
The Medium.
intrigued by this.
This is like a third person,
Just like my steak.
third person survival horror game
Medium.
where they're kind of doing an interesting like dual screen gameplay deal where it's the character exists in like two different dimensional realms, and you'll have both of the dimensions on screen, and there's puzzles that involve both of them, and narratively they're gonna like bounce between the two, kind of based on like how the main character is and like where she is,
and presumably
like, between
what
the
the
two
decisions
dimensions.
you're making, which is creating like, is she going more towards being in the realm of like, I don't know, the demons, I guess, and it's just like it's probably based off of your storyline decision. So you're just like, I don't know, you say something like, oh, I blah 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 the darkness or something, and then so you lean more into that ghoulish world. Um, that would be really cool to see. Uh, but the other thing I want to point out is like you have that element, but then sometimes you'll be in that split screen, and then when you go to a first person view of something, so the two environments have different clues or like objects that you can interact with. So if you go over to an object in one world, you'll go into that world in first person to look at that object, and then it takes over the whole screen, which I thought that was really well done. Um, and I hope that we see a lot more games that do this kind of element where you're using dualities to create like an environment where you can see each other, like you can see the main character's perception of reality.
Oh, okay.
No,
just
don't
don't
shoehorn
I
it.
don't want to make people start shoehorning
I,
like
yeah,
popular
not
game
shoehorning
ideas.
it. I think it's just
Yeah.
it's a first step towards being able to see the world from
Mhm.
a person's point of view without having to do like a flash in and out of the worlds.
Well, that's the interesting about solving puzzles through both dimensions is that instead of being one room is essentially doubled, so you have to kind of perceive both sides. It expands your work area per se. So without
Yeah, it's like a
really
screen and
ruining the
screen
setting,
puzzle.
like yeah, I
Yeah.
guess so.
And it'll be interesting to see how they do boss fights where it's like you're interacting with things in the like world that the boss isn't in to like
Uh,
fight the
So is
boss
this
in
going to be
the
an
other
action
dimension.
game like where you actually do fight, or is it going to be like Amnesia where you're running from something?
N- n- It looks like it might be more akin to like Silent Hill, right?
Okay.
So it's gonna like mostly be like avoiding
But
and
you'll
like
still have like a
that
gun or
like
something.
stealth horror puzzle stuff.
Yeah, this looks
I
very,
don't know
like,
if you'll have a
puzzle,
gun.
like,
It like it looks like you in like a boss fight will probably be more like how do you
Like you pull a
neutralize this
lever or
boss with the
something, and
environment
then you have
or
to
like
like
get
bring
away
it to a
from
certain
it.
area and press a
Yeah.
button, and then something falls on it.
Yeah, like it's not going to be like a Resident Evil where you're like pulling out your pistol and shooting at this
Yeah.
thing as it runs at you. No, you're like
yeah, I guess you have to
Okay.
outsmart it. Kind of like how you have to outsmart. It's
And
another
that's cool.
puzzle,
I,
right?
that I've always admired those types of games. Not that I play a lot of them. I think the game that did that the best, where it was a perfect mixture of puzzles with an interactive or like an actiony like shooter type element, was Alan Wake. And I know a lot of people don't have too much affiliation to
yeah.
Alan Wake, but you
Alan,
do guide things
Alan.
into certain areas and press buttons to stop them from attacking, because like you get that feeling of humanity and weakness in that game that I've gotten in very few other games. Because eventually you get to a point in other games where you're just like, I don't give a shit. These things are all too weak to me. I'm too powerful. Alan Wake, you never felt that. You always felt like you're at the whim of whatever's chasing you and limited because there was so limited bullets. I hope that in this game you feel that too.
And I would say that like the vibe from the trailer seems to be that they're heading in that direction, right? It doesn't like at no point does the like gameplay that I've seen give any indication that it's going to have like big time action moments or have that type of power creep
No.
where you can just like blow through enemies. I mean, to be fair, the gameplay that I've seen, there's not really
I feel like it's
that many
more of
enemies. Like, it's mostly like
a
environmental puzzles.
room escape. Yeah, like
It's
escape
like
the
a
room
puzzle
type
game.
of vibe.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
The description does say the psychic abilities to go against hostile forces, but you have to recharge your psychic energy.
Yeah, so it's probably like it'll probably be like a mostly you have to run and hide from these
Yeah.
things, but you can like get off a psychic blast to neutralize one.
So yeah, so
it's
you
like slow
here and
maybe
there.
maybe you like have
Yeah.
to do specific things to charge up that meter that involve the puzzles. Okay, so
Yeah,
that makes
that's what it
sense.
says, you have to charge it
So
up, yeah.
it's not like a finite thing, but it's finite to the extent of how quickly you can do things in the environment and how fast you are solving puzzles. That's cool. I like that. The whole game element seems interesting. Um, I'd be interested in checking it out, maybe as a YouTube video or something.
Wow.
We will
Do
see.
it.
Yeah.
It's all you, boo. It's all you.
And I think it's visually interesting too, like the two different like worlds, right? You have kind of like the just run down normal world asylum, which is like spooky
Yeah.
and whatever, but then you have like the hell dimension or whatever that, is gross and weird in its own right.
It's not gross. It's beautiful. What are you talking about?
And it'll be interesting to see how like that gets
I feel
fleshed
like
out
you gotta
over the
play
course
it,
of the
John.
game.
I couldn't. I don't know if I could actually play it.
To be completely honest, I have no interest in this game.
That
the
sounds like a
visuals are
me and
cool,
Garrett game, then
but
maybe.
the gameplay just
We'll see.
looks meh.
Well, I don't
Unless
know.
unless I see more
I
gameplay
mean-
that gets me like excited, but I don't.
Yeah.
It's not. It doesn't excite me.
I mean, I wouldn't mind trying it, but I don't
Yeah.
know if I would like play it all the way through.
Yeah, because I don't really
Because it's
care
just
much
an
about
interesting
puzzle games,
concept.
and the concept of dual realities is kind of cool. But I feel
Yeah.
like it's just a gimmick.
It's like when the
gameplay.
Yeah,
Nintendo DS
and I
came
feel
out.
like this game's going to be one that's.
Wait,
Hey, don't hit on the DS. People love
Oh
the
yeah,
DS.
yeah. It's pretty much the game version of the DS.
Ah,
But no, I was going to say, I think it also depends a little bit on how well the story is done and like
Oh
what
yeah, yeah.
direction
If the
story
story, because
goes.
I watching the trailer and the gameplay demo, I don't know what's going on, and I don't
Yeah.
really care. So yeah.
Well, that one looks cool. Those are the games that stood out to us during
Except for the last one
the
for me.
lineup. Yeah, I guess except for that last one for John. Anyway, any closing thoughts on the medium
No.
from anybody before we move on?
not at all.
No. All right. Remember, that was just a limited selection of the games
was
that
like
they showed
18 or
at the
19.
showcase. So I
Wow.
highly recommend going and
Go watch
yeah, I
the
highly recommend
showcase.
checking that out so
Yeah.
you can get an idea of all the
Yeah.
things that Microsoft is going to be putting out in the future.
They really didn't
Uh,
show much gameplay. Like again.
No,
Oh,
I mean,
they
they
didn't
did
say
show
it was
gameplay for
yeah,
stuff.
they didn't say it was a gameplay showcase, but still not that much to show.
But yeah, you're right. They didn't like lean heavily into gameplay
Yeah.
by any means. Okay. We have a small closing thing before we move off of the showcase. People are talking about how Microsoft broke its promise.
Oh,
Originally,
no!
Microsoft said that they would be providing, or I should say that everything, all the first party games that Microsoft puts out would be coming out on the original Xbox One for up to 2 years.
Wow.
I think this was highlighted first. I don't know if it was first highlighted, but I saw it in a Verge article. So go check out the full article. But the gist of it basically is they go into how Microsoft said that you won't need to get a Series X for up to 2 years because their first party games will still come out. But then at the showcase, quite a few of their games, about 6 of them, were not shown to be on Xbox One.
Oh no.
And it has a lot of people wondering, like, are they like breaking their promise? Are they putting out games just for the Xbox One S? Of the list that I note, like the list of games that didn't have Xbox One listed, they were all teaser
So they're
trailers
pretty
for the most
far
part.
Okay, yeah. So
Right.
that's
So,
they're
like,
far down the line then.
I feel like they're pretty far away. And
Oh.
even there's some weird ones on there, like Forza was one of them, right? And you would expect a Forza game to be a launch title,
It's like
right?
heralding
Yeah.
into a
But,
new age whenever Forza comes out.
Yeah. But again,
No.
they didn't really show gameplay for Forza, right? Which is like different than Gran Turismo. Like Gran Turismo, they showed gameplay, right? Whereas Forza, they had more of a like in-engine cinematic trailer.
All right, yeah.
So I wouldn't be
I
surprised. if
feel
Forza
like
is like 2
PlayStation
years
couldn't
out.
be released without
and
Gran Turismo.
that goes for all the other ones, right? Yeah. Well, I think
Yeah.
I think the PS4 might have been released, or I think the PS4 had like a weird arcade
Well,
Gran
I
Turismo
mean,
game that
like
it
it could
released with.
be like
Sounds familiar.
released in mid-cycle of the console coming out, but I feel like if they release one in between the cycle, they'll release another one when the next console comes out still. That's just how PlayStation's been since
Yeah.
like 2, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, what I'm getting at here is I don't think Microsoft's breaking the promise. I think these games are more than 2 years away.
Yeah,
So,
that sounds like these are yeah.
I don't know. Anybody else feel like the same, different?
Yeah, that probably
Same.
makes the most sense.
Which means they really don't have much to show for this and
Yeah.
this coming year, the new year.
Well,
Yeah.
it really also depends too. They might like extend that 2-year limit if Game Pass is successful and people buy into it.
True. Yeah. And you know, like with them getting their what's their, I can't think of what it's called right now, but they're like games on demand thing, right? Where you stream the games. Why can't I remember the name of that?
Game Pass?
The Xbox.
Oh,
thing.
xCloud. I was like, what are you talking
xCloud.
about? Yeah.
xCloud, yeah.
xCloud with Game Pass, right? So with xCloud, right? You might be able to play these games on Xbox One, technically, right? Like
no.
they just might not run natively on an Xbox
Does
One.
xCloud have like a
So
like character to it too? We have Cloudy. What does xCloud sound like?
no, we don't have time for
It's like
xCloud.
it's like an extreme
That's
sports
screw
Sonic
xCloud.
type character. It's like yeah.
xCloud,
Anyhow.
use me now.
Data
Yeah.
gonna come at you fast.
Yeah. Stream your games.
Low
fast.
latency.
Yeah, I agree. They didn't break their promise. Like
Anyway.
until they release something.
Or they might be in like they
Right.
might be scurrying around it technically. If this like
Until they
xCloud
release
thing
a
is
game
how
that's
it works.
exclusive within that 2-year mark of the Xbox whatever, the new Xbox coming out, then I'm not gonna say anything. Cause and in grand scheme of things, I don't really give a shit because I'm playing on the PC, so I'm gonna get those games anyhow. So anyone that's playing on the Xbox One,
Sure.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that sucks. This is the console game though. This is like what they do.
True.
And
Yeah,
coming
they
from a
expect you to
console
move
player,
on.
I've grown up on consoles. I bought every console, so I know how rough it is. But just switch to PC, man. Join this.
That's what I did after the Xbox 360. I was like,
It just
"Screw
feels
buying
bad.
the next
It feels
latest
so bad
console, I can
knowing
just
that
get a
eventually,
PC."
like, yeah,
Yep.
computer parts go out of date, and you're like, oh, I gotta get new ones in a few years, but it lasts so much longer. Anyhow, rant over on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think probably not breaking their promise, or at least not
Mhm.
technically breaking their promise.
Not yet.
We
Um,
don't know yet. We'll see.
But yeah, we don't know. We'll see when those games actually get like release dates and stuff like that, and they kind of lock stuff down more.
On the next episode of Dragon Ball Z.
Xbox Z.
That's going to do it for the showcase.
Oh yeah!
Fantastic.
So
And now-
excited.
We're
Oh,
going to
I'm
move
so
on
Excited.
to
Can't.
Indie
that I
Game
hear?
Quickie.
Wow.
Oh.
Oh,
Indie Game Quickie. Indie Game Quickie.
Yeah.
whoa! Oh my!
Oddly
That was
sensual.
amazing.
Oh, you have
So-
a you have a.
I
that was a
love
cool
these
thing.
intros. Play it again,
I don't
PJ.
feel like it. Only one orgasm per stream.
Okay.
Oh.
So we got one game.
Um.
We got one game on the Indie Game Quickie, and that is Othercide.
So
tell
Othercide,
us about it.
What's on the other
it
side,
struck
BJ?
me as really cool because it's a turn-based. Is it hexagonal or square? Sorry, I'm looking at the trailer one more time. So it is.
Hexagon.
Hold on. I'm looking.
What?
Yeah, it's a
Well,
tactics
while he's
RPG.
doing that-
It's either
Tactics RPG.
hexagons or
Tactics
squares.
RPG.
The art is really interesting. It's like very it's
Otherside's more better.
it is. It's grays,
It's like
but it mixes in
monochromatic.
reds as well.
Oh,
And I find that to be really cool.
I love
It
turn-based.
it strikes me as
Oh, I actually played
the
it.
art style of Bayonetta's like god creatures. So like it's holy creatures mixed in with this grotesque art
cow.
style. And then you have these like I don't even know what to call them. Kind
They're
of.
like angel
So it
hunters.
definitely
Very
gave me the
wispy.
Bayonetta
Kinda.
feel, but with a noir art style. It is
It's on
square.
Square,
Okay.
Yeah.
Square
So,
Battlefield, by the way. Square
I think it's
Battle.
going to be really cool. It
Oh,
just came out
different.
yesterday, actually 2 days ago now when this gets released. It's definitely on my list of games I'm going to look at and follow once it goes on sale. But I recommend it to
wow.
everyone. The problem is it's a very steep cost. It's $35 for this type of
Oh,
game, and I
God.
think it's kind of that's outdated. I feel like the most you can charge for a game like this nowadays is $20, but from the right.
Well,
Well,
it's
for
a
like an
huge game.
unnamed property.
Well, then
Yeah.
that's what I was
Right.
about to
It's
say.
huge.
From what I'm seeing
Huge.
on the
Huge.
gameplay, there is a lot to it, and there's a lot of room for you to play the game and play it multiple times because there's so much you can do in it. So I'd recommend checking it out, especially if you have a little bit of money laying around and this is up your alley. The reviews are positive, actually very positive, and the art style just gets me.
Mhm.
I love it so much, and it's out for PS4, Xbox One, PC on Steam, and then the Switch. So
Oh wow! And remember,
yeah,
it's other side with a C.
yeah. If you spell it wrong,
Wait, what?
if you
Yes. Like
so
like
stupid.
if
homicide.
you
Oh, okay,
don't
okay, that
type
makes
it that
sense.
way,
I
you
was
won't
like,
find
what?
it on Steam. So
Okay.
fair warning.
Mhm.
But
Get it. Well, that's not what's it called? Search optimization. That's poor search optimization
Yeah.
on their
Mhm.
part, but
Trying to be
whatever.
Bad
unique
SEO.
and just
Yeah, SEO. That's it.
losing
Yeah.
But that's
out
the only
on
indie game quickie for this week
impressions.
that struck me.
Whatever.
So I'll pass it over to Garrick for
Oh.
the summer sizzle.
Nothing else struck you.
Oh wow.
Summer
Well,
Sizzle.
I
Summer
believe.
sizzle.
Oh yeah. There's an intro. Hold on.
Oh, makes me so hot.
Oh,
Moist.
so
Oh,
sizzling.
wow. Whew. Sizzling.
Yeah. So the next game we're gonna talk about is called Destroy All Humans.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I'd say it's a remake, wouldn't you say, Joey?
Yeah, it's a
Uh,
remake of the original game for the PS2.
Yeah.
Oh.
So it's a classic,
Not
supposed to
even
be kind of
remastered.
like funny aliens situation, kill like old school gore situation, but cartoony,
Yeah.
so it's all right.
I remember
Rip
when this
apart
first
the
came out.
farmers and
Yeah.
blast and vaporize the cops.
Yeah, exactly.
The fries. No, was it fries? Best Buy or Fries had it on like their demo console, Xbox, and I played it like for a long time.
Like the original Xbox.
Yeah, the original Xbox.
Nice, that's awesome.
Never got the game, but just played it because I was
Just
there.
played
Yeah.
it a bunch.
Yeah.
So imagine like all the typical alien tropes all wrapped into one game.
What really
This
got
is the
me
game for you,
is that
essentially.
they used
You're running around as an
Ramstein
alien.
music for the trailer. That overwhelmingly made me
Yeah.
happy to hear Ramstein again, but also the way that they used it was fantastic. It's a very slapstick game.
How they use it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's got great voice acting and like a wacky, fun story. So yeah, just one of those,
Fun.
remasters akin to
Yeah.
like the
Battle
SpongeBob
for
one
Bikini
that we
Bottom.
just got
Yeah.
Mhm.
recently, the Battle for Bikini Bottom. Yeah.
There's a reason why it's
Very similar.
remastered. It's really good.
Did they change
So-
anything? Like
I think it's
gameplay-wise,
strictly
I
a
pretty much
don't think
remastered.
so. Yeah, I think it's just a remaster of the original.
Well, that's good. It's cool.
Yeah, very cool.
Yeah. Oh,
And then-
and when does that come out? I have
Today.
it noted. The 28th.
Yesterday.
Which is yesterday.
Today. Oh yeah, yesterday.
Yes, yesterday.
And it's
the time you're listening
$30.
to this.
It is out.
So not bad.
Point is, it is out.
What a deal!
Reasonably priced for a remaster of a PlayStation
Well, not even
2
just that. It's a
era
pretty
game.
expansive game from what I
and-
remember, and there's a lot that you can do. It's one of those games that you can beat it, and then you can go fuck around with it afterwards and just try to destroy everything. So
Yeah,
that
Nice,
adds so much
nice.
element.
yeah.
Oh.
Or play through it again.
That's a cool thing about old games. Sometimes it's just so mindless. Like just destroy everything, and like it gets that side of you that you don't.
There's like
normal
a
world.
gamification of things, right? Where it's like a lot of games nowadays want to lean so heavily into the like heavy-handed narrative and stuff like that,
Mhm,
and like
yeah.
slap you in the face with the storytelling. Whereas like
Yeah.
games back in the day, like Crash Bandicoot and Destroy All Humans, and your dumb SpongeBob platformers, like they're video games,
Well,
and like
I
all
think,
they're trying to be is a video game.
I think you can relate it closer to arcade games. You can easily find this game in the arcade.
Yeah.
If that was the case. So yeah. So next one in the summer sizzle is Fate Tactics. Who wants to take that one over?
Yeah, so Fey Tactics is another tactical RPG that is
Wow.
coming out. It's going to be on the PC and the Switch. But yeah, it has a really, really striking pixel art style. Kind of looks like PlayStation 1 kind of tactical RPGs, akin to like
It
Final
actually
Fantasy
strikes me
Tactics and
more of
stuff
like
like
a DS graphics.
it's a little bit more colorful and maybe has a little bit
Yeah, it's like
more
16-bit.
pixel art.
Oh, you know what it really hits me
fidelity
as?
than a
Game
PS1
Boy
game.
Advance. I'd say more than anything
wow.
else.
Whoa.
Sure, yeah. Some of the some of the art, well, the
But
actual
the other
pixel
art.
art, yeah, is maybe Game Boy Advance, but there's a lot of like drawn
It's
art
really
that
good,
has like better pixel art, like better fidelity to it. But yeah, tactical RPG, you're going around. It looks like there's a mechanic where you're like collecting. I don't know if they're the enemies, but you like get companions that are called Fae, and you like build your team out with the different companions. And yeah, it looks really cool. I recommend checking it out if you're into tactical RPGs like Fire Emblem.
Quick question, Joey. I'm watching the trailer right now. Does it use cards or is it just for the trailer?
I am not entirely sure exactly how that works. Like, I
Gotcha.
don't know if I think you might be like in battle summoning the
That's
Fae,
what it looks like. I wonder if it's
Mhm.
gonna be like.
but that might just be like for the trailer, like that fan of like the fanning out of
Yeah.
the cards.
Maybe it
Yeah.
To show
will
you the
run like
potential.
Yeah.
what am I calls it? Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, where you have that card system while you're battling. But it wouldn't akin too well to the tactics play style, so maybe not. I don't know. I'm intrigued.
I'm looking at gameplay right now. I don't think there's any cards.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
I
So
don't
maybe
think
it's
you're
just
playing
like
any
your
cards.
characters
I think
gotcha.
that
you just
push
have
or
like a
whatever.
party.
Well that's
Yeah.
interesting. Maybe it's just a collector's item in the game. I don't know. But it comes out supposedly on the 31st, but this is the interesting thing. It says the game is planned to be released
Wow.
on the 31st and there's no price point yet. Oh, it's
Oh.
published by Humble Games too.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Um,
I didn't even realize they
humble.
develop stuff. Or I
Yeah,
mean,
they're the
They
ones
just
that did
recently
Temtem
got into
too,
publishing
right?
stuff.
publishing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me look.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's them
I
as
don't
well.
know.
They
I'm
published
not
it
sure.
as well. Cool.
I will say though. Okay. Yeah. The cards. I don't think there are cards. I think that's just the card art for like the characters in
Yeah, that's what I was
the
thinking. So it's
menu,
kind of
in
just
the main menu.
like a collector's thing.
Yeah. So it's not a card game. You're not like summoning cards or anything like that. You're
Right. So
you're
everyone
building
that's
a party
anti-cards,
like an
don't jump
RPG,
ship yet.
and then
We're good.
yeah.
Oh.
I was so close.
Bye.
Oh,
Yep.
jeez. Whew, you saved me.
Oh, so maybe this might be a different topic for another time, but I would like to eventually talk about the evolution of the Humble Bundle.
Oh wait, no, I take that back. Maybe there are cards.
Okay, you
Oh,
can jump
wow.
now.
Yeah, because it looks
Okay.
like I might have been watching it. Yeah, it might have been something
Okay,
earlier
okay,
in.
bye.
See, it's confusing, right? Because you have units on the board that look to be like party members, but then it looks like you have cards on the side that are like actions that you can use, or like
Gotcha.
I think they called them talismans, and they're kind of like spell cards. It looks like.
Yeah, it was just iffy because in the gameplay trailer it was high fidelity as opposed to pixel. But if you go towards the end of the trailer, it does show that on the side that you were talking about.
Yeah,
That it was actual cards. So
Different.
interesting.
yeah. I personally
like I-
like card stuff. I like deck building games and stuff like that. So that interests me.
Semi-infuriates
but I
me.
can see how like if you are not into card stuff.
John's drowning.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Oh, he's dead.
Oh no. But anyways, like I said, I think it would be a nice thing to talk about like the evolution of Humble Bundle because I remember back in the day they
Yeah,
were a
it was
different
just
format.
it
then,
was
so
just simply
can tag
pay
that.
pay what you want for what we offer service, and then it's grown into a huge thing. So yeah, that would be an interesting topic. But
Okay,
Stay tuned.
more. The cards on the side appear to be abilities.
so I
with
was right. So it
cooldowns.
is like Chain of Memories.
Oh.
So you're not. Yeah. So you're like not drawing cards, or at least you might draw the first hand, but then they're like abilities.
Oh,
from
okay.
that
So it's
point.
like
You're
Chain
not,
of Memories, but
constantly
you
drawing
select
new cards.
5 cards.
Let me look. No, I take that back. No, you just have a loadout
Okay,
of
and then
cards.
you
It looks
cycle
like that
through
acts
them.
as abilities. So on the side of the screen, they have
Oh.
timers on them, right? So it's like you use it, and then it
So
shows
it's
you
more
have
like
so
the
many
world
turns
ends
till you
with
can
you.
use it again.
With the button system.
Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy. I kind of like that, but I'm indifferent because of the cards. Anywho, um,
I think you probably shouldn't think of them as cards and think of
right.
them more like equipable
I
abilities.
know the cards
I can't
automatically get me.
use
That's my
cards.
problem. But
No, no.
I think I'd lean more towards other side rather than Fate Tactics, to be honest with you. Just because not only the visuals strike me a little bit harder, but also the gameplay seems more uh, to the heart of traditional tactics games. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, if I were to choose,
I hate too many
agree.
gimmicks
Like if I had to choose
in
between them,
tactics game. I want it to feel a little bit more classical. But that's me.
it seems simplified. Yeah, it's like
Right.
very more direct, I guess. Whereas you need to think about like the complexity really applies to people who like that. Like
Right.
it's a different taste, I guess.
So
Well.
yeah,
Anyway, Fate Tactics looks alright, and stay on the lookout for it. Whether it releases on 31st or sometime else down the line,
I think it will come out
allegedly.
soon.
allegedly.
I don't know if the 31st necessarily.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, I think it might be. I don't know if it's in early access, but
Right.
like I'm pretty sure people have gotten their hands on it.
Soon,
So
team.
it's in like a playable state.
Nice.
All right, I think that's gonna do it
Oh
for us here
wow!
on the Fat Peeps.
Oh, what an
but-
exciting week!
Before we go,
Same as last week.
what's coming
Just
up on YouTube?
Assassin's Creed Odyssey. This Child of Light.
Wow.
John
Oh.
has upped his quality
Child.
even more in the
Child.
Assassin's Creed episodes. So check out the one that was
Wow.
posted yesterday. I watched the whole thing, was laughing the whole time. And then Child of Light's getting
Aw.
slightly better. Not as good as John's. I'm actually jealous. And then we got some more Call of Duty W's coming up. But make sure you guys hit that
Oh, yeah.
subscribe
Oh, we
button.
do? What?
Comment
Wow.
down below on this
No, not hit. Slam that subscribe button, dude.
Oh, dear Lord.
Smash.
We're trying to get to
Oh,
the 100
drop
subscriber
kick
mark,
it.
so please
Drop
help us
kick
be
it.
in that that first 100. Show us some love. We really do appreciate everybody that's followed already, that's listening to these podcasts. Your patronage is much appreciated. But also, put comments below. We want to start seeing more activity in the podcast as well, because we want your feedback. What's
yeah.
topics that you guys are interested in us talking about? The questions from some of the weeks have been from fans, so make sure you put those in if you want us to have a discussion.
If you guys want us to start talking about
Yeah,
makeup,
so
Oh,
Heck,
give us
we'll do it.
something cool to talk
glad
about.
you
Give us
asked,
ideas.
John.
Give us your
Yep.
feedback. We're very open to that, and we want to hear what you guys want to hear from us. So make sure you do that. And then, John, your stream for this week.
oh yeah. Oh,
Oh God, it's streaming Monday,
podcast.
Wednesday, Friday. The stuff on there.
yay!
Wow, come on and hang
So
out with us there.
descriptive.
6:30.
Let us sing
The only
happy
thing that's set in
birthday to
stone,
you.
it seems
Pacific
like,
time.
is Fat Fit
So that's all good?
Fridays as of right now. So, and Forest Wednesdays.
And Forest.
But,
Fridays. No, Forest Wednesdays.
Right.
Oh yeah, non-alliteration.
Yes.
Forest Friends.
There you go.
Friends Day.
So
Wednesday.
that's pretty
Oh,
much
there you
it.
go. That works. I like it.
Yep. So that's gonna do it for us here on the Fat
All
Peeps.
right, guys.
And
Oh wow.
we'll catch you guys next week for another
I'll
podcast.
miss you guys. I'll see
Thanks
you
for
in a week.
listening.
Gotta go fast. Fuck you, Cloudy.
Oh my
Tim.
God. Oh.
Timmy?
Oh God,
Is that
Xbox
you?
crazy. Go, Tim.